Part 35. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 342. The reason why his skills are lagging is not a problem with the game. But he didn't expect that this seemingly ordinary dog could actually join the battle midway. Etc. That's not the point either. What the hell is this Wang Tiandi? Can NPCs in the game world also form teams? Could it be a bloody setting like a brave man recruits his friends to defeat the big devil together? Yulin didn't have time to think too much. It's his turn, and the 30-second countdown is about to end. Yulin decisively clicked yes to let this weird dog join the battle. Emperor Wang Tian smiled coldly. The moment Yulin chose to team up with Guzi, the dog suddenly jumped out, broke through the circle of light, and stood next to Yulin. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of metal grinding came from the dog's paws. Yulin took a closer look and discovered that the dog actually had a pair of fighting claws on its paws. This style is quite familiar to Yulin. Yuren also has a handful in her bag. It is clearly the fighting claw of the beginner. This dog turns out to be an adventurer. Yulin instantly felt that the setting of this game world was a bit outrageous. How can a dog be an adventurer? Wouldn't it be better to be a monster with a future? After Wang Tiandi equipped the fighting claw, Yulin's countdown was about to end. He thought for a moment, and now that Wang Tiandi, a dog teammate, had joined and the situation with the mobs was 2v2, Yulin was even more unhurried, so he jumped over with a cool and calm flatta without using any skills. Yuren inflicted heavy damage on Slime A. Oh! Yulin's knife had just penetrated into the slime's sticky gel, but had not had time to cause any damage. But the combat prompts came out first. -8. Yulin. Slime is still alive and kicking. Wang Tiandi's turn. Guzi grinned, moved his body, and rushed out. Boom. Wang Tiandi's movements were extremely smooth, and he shot Slime B into the air with a dragon claw gesture. The strong shock caused by that moment actually made Yulin's UI interface shake. Wang Tiandi caused heavy damage to Slime B. 22. Slime B is dead. Yulin. Yulin suddenly fell silent. He found that his output was not as good as a dog. Although from the beginner series of weapons, Yulin could see that the attack power of each weapon was completely different. Regardless of the ranking in the middle, the one with the highest attack power on the panel is the two-handed sword, while the lowest is the dagger. The attack power of the fighting claw is definitely much higher than that of Yulin's dagger. But this output is outrageous. Yulin's eyes twitched. In the blink of an eye, Slime A, who had been slapped by Yulin, reacted and angrily hit Yulin. The sticky gel covered Yulin's face. Boom. -9. A number popped up above Yulin's head. It's Yulin's turn again. Yulin wiped a handful of mucus from her face, preparing to withdraw it angrily. But right now, Yulin found that the pain on his face strangely disappeared again. At the same time, another number appeared above his head. Add 13. Has blood returned? Yulin looked slightly stunned. He looked at the battle interface again, and it seemed that he did not have any weird health recovery buff hanging on him. While Yulin was thinking, she did not delay the output and stabbed back decisively. Congratulations, you defeated Slime A and Slime B. Get gold coins, add 5G. Get experience value, add 48. Get slippery juice. With the help of Emperor Wang Tian, the two LV1 slime monsters did not cause any trouble and easily ended the battle. Apart from a little juice on her face, Yulin was not hurt in any way. The blood was still strangely full. After the aperture disappears, the dog mate named Wang Tiandi proudly put away his fighting claws, smoothed the slightly messy hair with his tongue, and squatted on the ground. Why did the blood return? Yulin subconsciously picked at the dead skin on her forehead. Is it a novice benefit? Yulin secretly glanced at Wang Tiandi. In the battle just now, Wang Tiandi was not harmed, so Yilin could not draw a conclusion. Now it's team mode. Because they are teammates, Yilin can also see Wang Tiandi's health bar. Wang Tiandi's health bar was very long, more than 300, one-third higher than Yilin's. Yilin always felt that something was wrong with this game. The experience after leaving the city, whether it was the turn-based system or the dog, made Yilin feel that something was strange. After thinking for a moment, Yilin decided to put aside her doubts for the time being. Brush monsters first and then talk. Team dog, let's go. Dog. As Yilin said this, he casually took a few steps and stabbed another slime. 20 minutes later, above the heads of Yilin and Wang Tiandi, a golden light fell from the sky one after another, and the special effects were very cool. Ding! Congratulations, your level has been improved. Level upgraded to LV2. Get God-given points. Guze brought money to join the team, perhaps because he had gained a lot of experience points before teaming up with Yilin. A few minutes ago, Guze's forehead shone with golden light earlier than Yilin. Sure enough, the game cannot be separated from upgrading and adding points. This is still very traditional. I don't know if it's the pleasure of leveling up, or the special effects of the golden light initiation. Yilin felt happy and couldn't help laughing. The dog hugged its front legs, tilted its mouth, and exposed its teeth, showing its evil charm. Yilin ignored the emotion expressed in Guze's expression and left the grass area as quickly as possible and came to the road. The dog kept pawing at the monsters for 20 minutes. Wang Tiandi was also a little tired. When he saw Yilin coming to the area where there were no monsters on the roadside, he followed him, wagging his tail and squatting next to Yilin. Yilin ignored Guze. Directly opened the God's Gift panel obtained after changing jobs. After obtaining God-given points, which are functions equivalent to skill points, Yilin's dark panel finally lit up. There are 3 routes on the God-given panel of the assassin profession. Yilin took a look and saw that they seemed to be divided according to weapons. Of course, there is no limit to the types of weapons that Yilin can equip with the assassin profession. It can be seen from the God's Gift panel that equipping a weapon of a type you are not good at will not be blessed and is not worth it. The 3 weapons that assassins can equip are, one-handed sword, boomerang, and dagger. Boomerang? The weapons dealer doesn't sell it, is it a harder weapon to get? Yilin thought. But he couldn't explore because he had no choice. It was definitely impossible to use a one-handed sword. He felt that he was not good at weapons of this shape. The dagger is still easy to use, I don't know why. Moreover, a kind assassin holding a one-handed sword, what is the difference between him and a warrior? Could it be that there are assassins carrying swords and charging into the pile of monsters, entering and exiting 7 times? Yilin thinks this setting is very strange. Yilin pointed her finger. A hexagonal square suddenly lit up. God-given point -1. When equipped with a dagger, the heart rate will be add 1%. As the God's Gift lit up, Yilin felt a warm current entering her body. He felt stronger. This shouldn't be an illusion. Although Yilin also knew very well that this 1% probability bonus was better than nothing, but the subsequent dim God-given panels should be able to be piled up. No wonder the dagger's basic attack power is so low. Did it turn out to be a high crit attack? Yilin understands the mechanics of this game world more and more. Then I took a look at the items dropped by slimes in props. Never mind. Yilin looked indifferent and quickly closed the panel. He really shouldn't have any illusions about the items dropped by a LV1 mob. Yilin called to Wang Tiandi who was stroking his hair, and rushed into the grass again. 1 man and 1 dog caused a bloody storm in the monster circle in the Labu Basin, leaving behind various legends. 4 hours later. The setting sun left only a ray of light on the distant mountain peaks. The sky also darkened. The gray sky was still cloudless. Congratulations, your level has been improved. Level upgraded to LV6. Get God-given points. A golden light fell on Yilin's head. Finally. Yilin breathed a long sigh of relief. After grinding for a long time, I finally reached LV6. Yilin skillfully opened the God's Gift panel, pondered on each God's Gift branch for a moment, and then clicked on it. On the God's Gift panel, there is a data that counts the God's Gift blessings that Yilin has received so far. Yilin did not dare to mess around with the God-given points from level 2 to level 6, and made a reasonable choice according to the route he currently envisioned. When equipped with a dagger, the heart rate will be add 1%. Spirit add 0.1. Agility add 0.2. Poison quenching dagger. Knowing damage add 5%. Poison quenching dagger is a seemingly ordinary skill. Poison quenching dagger. Type active, throwing, combat, map, continuous. Consumption 15 crystal energy. Effect used on any target within 100 meters, adding poison status, lasting 4 rounds. This skill seems to be far different from his own innate skills. However, the advantage is that it can be used in non-combat conditions, consumes less mana, and is still long range, which can make up for Yilin's lack of output methods. After all, the grasp of annihilation among Yilin's innate skills consumes too much, and he can't even get a few shots. During this process of spawning monsters and leveling up, Yilin made many new discoveries about game mechanics. First of all, the assassin's panel damage seems to be affected by the agility attribute, and the calculation formula is extremely complicated. It is not a simple addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. The damage value fluctuates to a certain extent and is affected by the monster's defense and level. Under the current conditions, it is difficult to calculate the specific damage formula through reverse deduction. Yilin could only roughly surmise that for an assassin, most of the damage he could cause was related to level and agility. Although Yilin didn't understand why he, a kind-hearted assassin, had the spirit attribute on the God-given panel, he actually clicked it by mistake. But after clicking the divine gift of spirit add 0.1, Yilin discovered that his crystal energy value had increased to 285. In other words, for every 0.1 mental attribute, 30 points of crystal energy are added. Each time you level up, your health will increase by 20 points. Of course, this is Yirin. Yilin silently looked at the health of his dog teammate. It was also LV6, but it had increased by 250. A good 250. This dog's profession should be a strength bonus. Every 0.1 strength adds an additional 30 points of blood. Is it the type that has high attack speed, high health, and slow speed? It's dark. Yilin did not rush to Izadaport, but chose to stay near Rabtown. Yilin is now at LV6, and the highest level monster around Labutown is only at LV5. When the character level is higher than the monster level, the experience points gained from killing monsters decrease significantly, so it took a lot of time for Yilin to upgrade from LV5 to LV6. Time to move on to the next area. It's not cost-effective to stay here any longer. But before that, Yilin lowered his head and glanced at the dagger in his hand, which had numerous holes in it. The durability of beginner's dagger has dropped to the lowest level. Thinking of the next action, Yilin couldn't help but have a kind smile on her lips. Hello boss, I'm here to hand in a task. This batch is indeed the batch of goods I lost, but what? The middle-aged and fat weapons dealer frowned, raised one of the beginner's daggers, and asked in confusion, why did this dagger collapse like this? Yilin spread his palms with an innocent expression, I don't know about this. It was already like this when I found this batch of goods. Fine. The weapons dealer nodded helplessly. Puh. Wang Tiandi pressed his ears down with his paws and covered them tightly. Why does it always have the illusion that it has heard such nonsense somewhere? I obviously didn't know this insidious human being before. Complete the side mission, The Troubles of the Weapons Dealer in Rabtown. Get money at 1500 G. Get EXP at 3000. With the side mission completed. Ding. Ding. Accompanied by two clear and melodious tinkling sounds, two golden lights descended from the sky one after another and fell on Yilin's head. Upgraded 2 levels in a row. It's no wonder that in many online games, so many people are keen on killing monsters and upgrading. This feeling of suddenly becoming stronger is really refreshing. Yilin was in a happy mood, and ignored Guz's slightly contemptuous eyes, and opened the properties panel and took a look. Character Yilin. Sex, male. Age 18. Level 8. Experience 87/2144, 4%. Occupation Assassin. HP 266/266. Crystal Energy Value 285/285. Strength 4.2. Agility 5.0, add 0.2. Spirit 8.5, add 0.1. Will 8.0. Lucky 2.6. Charm 1.4. Talent skills Haunted by Disaster, Follow Like a Shadow, Shadow Kill, Grasp of Annihilation, Summon Mount Night Dire. God-given skill Poison Quenching Dagger. After upgrading 2 levels in a row, Yilin's health value increased by 40 points with the level, which was much safer. Although it is not comparable to Wang Tiandi's health value. The physiques of humans and dogs cannot be generalized. Yilin has now calculated the rules of experience points required for upgrading. In fact, there is no mystery at all. Starting from 1000 EXP required to upgrade from LV1 to LV2, the increase in experience points required for each level is 10% of the previous level. According to this calculation, Yilin did a simple calculation in her mind, and then shook her head helplessly. It seems that the upgrade is very fast in the early stage, but according to this increasing trend, the experience value of the later upgrade will be an astronomical figure. It is estimated that the 99th level it requires more than 8 million experience points. Is this a mechanism to forcibly extend the life of the game? By the way, what happened to me before I lost my memory that I came to play this kind of cheating turn-based game? I deserve to be trapped in this game. Please select your additional rewards. While upgrading 2 levels in a row, Yilin also gained 2 God-given points. He didn't have time to mess with this thing at the moment, so he had to finish gathering the wool first. I choose the one-handed sword of the beginner. Ding. Congratulations, you have obtained the beginner's one-handed sword *1. Although the weapons dealer felt bitter and puzzled, he still had to give what was due. After all, this was a mission. But when the weapons dealer was holding a bunch of weapons and was about to put them back on the shelves, Yilin said slowly in a kind tone, "Excuse me, are you going to continue selling that broken dagger?" The weapons dealer waved his hand. After the side mission, there was no other relationship between him and Yilin, and his tone seemed to be a little more impatient. "It doesn't matter, just let Galang blacksmith repair it later." Oh. Yilin suddenly understood and said to herself loudly, "So you plan to sell second-hand goods as brand new goods from the factory?" The weapons dealer's movements suddenly froze. Yilin continued to talk to himself and turned to leave. "I heard that the most important thing about the Wuma Chamber of Commerce is credibility. If other people know that the weapons dealer in Labutown will turn into a tattered dagger, after being repaired and sold as brand new, I wonder what other customers will think. Well, I think they should, maybe, won't mind." Weapons dealer. A few minutes later, Yilin bought the tattered dagger back at a high price of 1G. By the way, he sold the beginner's one-handed sword back to the weapons dealer at half price. Before leaving, the weapons dealer frowned and cried to express his gratitude, excitement, and joy to Yilin. Wang Tiandi followed Yilin from a distance, looking around with a dog's head. It seems to be saying, I really don't know this shameless human being. It turns out that the way to obtain novice weapons, besides stealing weapons dealers, is from the blacksmith shop. By the way, did you get your fighting claw from the blacksmith shop too? Yulin turned around and was about to ask about this strange dog. But when Yulin looked back, she found that the dog had inexplicably moved more than 10 meters away from him, and the dog's head was swinging back and forth like a convulsion. Yulin couldn't help but raise a question mark. Emperor Wang Tian rolled his eyes. Yulin hurried to the blacksmith shop before it closed. The location of the blacksmith shop is in a corner of Lebu town. There was billowing black smoke from the chimney, and the air was filled with a pungent smell of fireworks. The door of the blacksmith shop was ajar, and the shelves next to the door were filled with embryos of weapons of various shapes. Yulin took a few cursory glances and found that none of the weapons had their blades opened, so they couldn't be used to fight monsters at all. It is estimated that even if you try to steal it, it will be useless. It is just a semi-finished product. From the crack in the door, bursts of steam surged out from the crack in the door, accompanied by a hot breath, hitting his face. "Anyone there?" Yulin asked, but directly opened the door and walked in. The door isn't closed anyway. The light inside the door is dim. There was only a steam stove, burning brightly, becoming the only light in the confined space. The room became even hotter and stuffier. As soon as Yulin walked in, she felt hot all over and there was a dampness on her back. The dog acted more directly. He ran out without saying a word and squatted by the door, sticking out his tongue to dissipate heat. "What's up?" In front of the steam furnace, a shirtless, middle-aged blacksmith with strong muscles was holding a big hammer and banging the red weapon embryo. Yulin's eyes narrowed, and just by looking at the action of swinging the hammer, he could tell that the attributes of blacksmith Ge Lang were definitely not low. Repair weapons. Yurin has no nonsense. He threw the broken dagger directly. The repair fee is 87 G. I don't know how the repair fee was calculated, but after Yulin made a deal with the weapons dealer, the repair fee was just a drop in the bucket. Yulin confirmed it directly without even thinking about it. "Go out." It was unknown whether the repair process involved some trade secrets, so Yulin was kicked out. 10 minutes later, Yulin received a factory new dagger and swung it casually. Yulin was very satisfied with the blacksmith's skills. Currently, Yulin has no other weapons and can only use them first. His current point-adding direction is to take the dagger route. Without the dagger in hand, all the God-given bonuses will not take effect, which is a bit annoying. Blacksmith Ge Lang walked into the light, and Yulin could see his face clearly. Blacksmith Ge Lang has many scars on his face, full of stories. After handing over the money and delivering the goods, Blacksmith Ge Lang seemed to have no intention of chatting with Yulin. After handing over the dagger, he prepared to leave, closed the door tightly and continued working. "Wait a minute. What's up? Can you order weapons here?" "Yes. But you must first have the drawings and materials. I can process them for you for a corresponding fee." Although Blacksmith Ge Lang seems to be quite qualified, he is still an NPC and answers the questions that need to be answered truthfully and without lies. But after answering the question, Blacksmith Ge Lang pulled the door hard with a face filled with stories, as if he had no patience. Yulin chuckled. "Still have a question?" He took out a dull, blood-red short knife from the props column and asked, "Can you repair this weapon?" The moment Yulin took out the blood-red short knife, Blacksmith Ge Lang's cold eyes suddenly lit up with a gleam of light. Yulin had no time to pay attention to the special effects flashing in the blacksmith's eyes. He focused on the top of the blacksmith's head. "Excalibur." The blacksmith just glanced at it with a look of surprise on his face. "How can you, a little adventurer, own the Excalibur?" "What is Excalibur?" "You don't know?" The blacksmith raised his head and looked at Yulin with cold eyes. "I have lost my memory." Yulin raised her head. In her eyes, Yulin tried her best to show 3 parts confusion, 3 parts sadness, 3 parts pathos, and a hidden deep sense of mission. Although I don't know if Blacksmith Get feels this way, Yulin has been working very hard on her performance. At the end of the performance, Yulin sighed and said, "This is a sad story." And this is also true. He did have amnesia. Still very thorough. Blacksmith Ge Lang fell silent. Ding. But although he didn't say anything, an exclamation point honestly popped up on his forehead. The mouth is too honest for the brain. Yulin was very emotional and decisively accepted the task. Accept the main mission, the road to recovery of the unknown divine sword. Current mission goal, find a blank Excalibur crystal for Blacksmith Galang in Labutown. Task difficulty, A+. Task time limit, none. Task reward, unknown. After Yulin accepted this task, Blacksmith Ge Lang, who said he was too honest, slammed the door shut tightly, as if to express this idea. No more customers today. Why do you feel like this blacksmith has a bad attitude? Yulin subconsciously touched her face. But no matter what, he finally knew that the mysterious red short knife that had been lying in the props was a magic sword. Although the novice village where Yulin is currently unable to understand what the Excalibur is, just hearing the name, it should be good. But why would I have it? Is it the welfare of players? The kind that everyone has a handful of? In Yulin's cognition, it seems that this style of painting of starting with a dragon-slaying knife, with a sword of 999 is not out of the ordinary. Oh, right. And start with a dog. This side quest received from Ge Lang Blacksmith has a difficulty level of A+. Obviously, this cannot be done casually at the current level, and Yulin is not in a hurry. After finishing the work, it's getting late. There are few people on the road. Yulin raised her head. It was late at night. No wonder the blacksmith is closing. It turned out to be closing time. It's time to get to work. Yulin smiled slightly, with a kind expression. The next day. Early morning. It's not good. It's not good. The grocery store has been stolen. It's not good. It's not good. The armor shop was stolen. It's not good. It's not good. The weapons shop was stolen again. It's not good. It's not good. The church's crystal was stolen. It's not good. It's not good. The crystal on the church priest's prayer book was picked out and stolen. The priest was so angry that he vomited blood. Everyone in Labutown was shocked. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 343. When the matter is over, he brushes off his clothes and goes away, hiding his merit and fame. On the self-cultivation of assassins. Yulin raised her head. The morning sun was inexplicably dazzling. Yulin came out of the tavern leisurely. For some reason, Meg, the landlady, looked at me in a strange way. Is it because you were absent from work yesterday without any reason? It's a pity that Yulin has a lot of money in her pocket now, and she has already seen a lot of expenses for this part-time job. The atmosphere in Labutown today is chaotic. This seems to be a major theft that has not occurred in the past 10 years. It is said that a mysterious thief visited almost every place in Labutown that he could steal in one night. The most pitiful thing is the weapons dealer. The last batch of lost weapons has just been put back on the shelves and mysteriously disappeared again. The fat weapons dealer was kneeling on the ground, and the crowd was surging around him. He looked at his empty shelves and cried so loudly. Right now. A kind voice sounded from above the weapons dealer. Ahem, do you need, no, do you still need help? Half an hour later. One person and one dog walked happily on the streets of Labutown, taking steps that they did not recognize their relatives. In Yulin's task panel, there are 4 more side tasks. Side mission, the despair of the arms dealer in Rabtown. Side mission, the troubles of the armor merchant in Labutown. Side mission, the doubts of the grocer in Labutown. Side mission, the wrath of the priest in Rabtown. Although the names of these 4 side tasks are slightly different, but the way to complete the task is exactly the same, there is no difficulty. Yulin had a headache. But it wasn't the way the side quest was completed that bothered him. But the prop space seems to be a bit insufficient. Today is already the 5th day of being trapped in the Uranos game world. Yulin's level has far exceeded the level of monsters in Rabu Basin. It is safe to continue to stay in the Labu Basin to spawn monsters, but there is not much experience to be gained. There's no need to stick around here. Although there is still a blacksmith side quest in Labutown that has not yet been completed. But this was obviously not a task that could be completed in a short while, and Yulin had no intention of leaving after clearing these tasks. Not good value for money. It's time to leave. Yulin made a decision. He followed suit and returned the weapons stolen from the store intact to the weapons dealer. Complete the side mission, the despair of the arms dealer in Rabtown. Get money, add 1500 G. Get EXP, add 3000. Ding. Accompanied by a golden enlightenment, Yulin's level was raised to LV9. This time, when Yulin submitted the task, there was something more in the eyes of the weapons dealer when he looked at Yulin. Yulin turned a blind eye and took the reward with a smile. Then he quickly sold it back at half the price. I got a total of 2000 G smoothly, perfect. When Yulin left, the weapons dealer held a pile of recovered weapons and stared at Yulin's back. Goza followed Yulin from a distance and felt a little embarrassed, so he pretended not to recognize her and took a hot pee in the corner, which made him feel comfortable all over. It seems that the NPC in this game should have a lot of intelligence. The same NPC picked up twice, and he really noticed that something was wrong. If he tries it a 3rd time, something will probably happen. After all, the guards in Labutown are not vegetarians. Although he is suspicious, there is no evidence. Without evidence, he still has to spit out the mission reward. Is this the rule in this game world? Yulin murmured. He remembered the aperture when spawning monsters in the wild, and the phantom scale above the aperture. That shadow seemed to imply some mysterious power. This game is actually very well done. The cost should have been reduced a lot. But then she thought that this was just a game world, and Yulin didn't think much about it. NPCs naturally have to follow the rules, which is equivalent to AI. AI must follow certain rules and cannot be violated. Yulin walked cautiously in the city. He was afraid that the weapons dealer would suddenly become clever and not respect business ethics, so he would report any doubts to the guards. But Yulin took a few detours and walked to the armor shop. He didn't notice any change in the guard's attitude. He breathed a sigh of relief and came to the armor merchant. Outside the armor shop. Was it stolen? Is this a system store? Isn't that outrageous? Wait, it was stolen? Do you have a mission? What the hell? The mission has been taken over by a more outstanding adventurer? Do you have cataracts in your eyes? Or are your prosthetic eyes not installed properly? Or maybe the pupils are underdeveloped. Fat Master, I look so tough. You actually said that there are other adventurers in this town who are better than me. Do you know what a protagonist is? The fat man is the protagonist. The legendary protagonist. The protagonist among the protagonists. Do you understand the Son of Fate? Hurry up and finish the task dash. Boom. A strong dwarf was blasted out. Gilialug, bang, bang bang bang. Perhaps it was because the dwarf's bones were more delicate. When he was blasted out of the store, he rolled nearly 10 meters away, until he rolled to the corner not far from Yulin, and then he stopped. Who is this little man? Yulin watched helplessly as the little dwarf rolled past her feet, unmoved. Because the words he shouted in the armor shop were so arrogant, Yilin couldn't help but be cautious. This guy, is also a player? This is a bit obvious. What he said was incompatible with the style of this game world. Although Yilin's memory is sealed, her cognition is still there, and this obvious sense of violation can still be distinguished. Unless his IQ has been sealed in the game world, he wouldn't be able to see what's wrong with this little guy. Am I the only player trapped in the game world? Yilin did not rush forward to talk. But he used the corner of his eyes to look at the little man lying in the corner cursing. The dwarf is wearing cheap and rough clothes. He has a strong build and a short haircut. He must be quite old. What Yilin found most distinctive was that one of the dwarf's facial features was missing. No, I can't see clearly. His eyes were narrowed until there was only a slit left, and his eyes could not be seen at all. I don't know if it was intentional or a natural flaw. In addition to squinting his eyes, Yilin also saw another striking feature of this little man's appearance. Vulgar, very vulgar. While Yilin was observing her secretly, the little man who was cursing and spouting dirty words suddenly raised his head and looked at Yilin. The chatter stopped abruptly. The two people's eyes met for a moment. But Yilin didn't stop, walked directly into the armor shop, and handed in the side task. Complete the side mission, The Troubles of the Armor Merchant in Labutown. Get money at 1500 G. Get EXP at 3000. This time, there was no golden light reaching the Tianling cap. Yilin is very clear about her current panel and keeps every number in mind. Experience value 2570/2594, 99%. Just short of the experience of one mob to reach LV10. If it weren't for the suspicion shown by the weapons dealer, using this method to gain experience over and over again would be extremely efficient and safe. But since the weapons dealer had already become suspicious when the weapon was stolen for the second time, Yilin had no intention of repeating the same thing a third time. Now that Yilin's wallet was bulging a lot, in addition to choosing an ordinary beginner's leather armor as an extra reward, she decisively spent 2000 G and bought a complete set of beginner's leather armor set. Including accessories for 3 parts, head, body, and foot. Currently, there are 3 types of armor that Yilin has access to: leather armor, cloth, and armor. Beginner's equipment without any additional attributes: leather armor is knowledge rate, cloth armor is crystal energy value, and armor is damage reduction percentage. Obviously, the 3 types of equipment with different materials determine different routes for players. Yilin has now defeated a lot of monsters, and has a certain understanding of the assassin profession. He must accumulate knowledge, so he chose leather armor without hesitation. In addition to providing a paper-thin defense value, the beginner's 3-piece set also provided Yilin with a 3% understanding bonus. Since it is a novice's equipment, Yilin has nothing to impose on it, as long as it can be worn. The extra attribute bonuses are purely earned. More awesome equipment is probably difficult to buy in stores. In the final analysis, do you still need to go to the wild to farm monsters? Maybe we have to defeat the boss. But if this continues, how can I leave this game world? Although Yilin had a lot of fun playing games these days, Yilin did not forget his original purpose. He is a high-end gamer trapped in the gaming world. His main mission is to leave this game world. As long as the log out button can light up, you can probably get out. While leveling up and spawning monsters to increase your survival rate, you have to find a way to light up the log out button. When he walked out of the armor shop, the merchant who issued the side quest looked at Yilin strangely. Yilin ignored it. If this was a normal game world, this kind of filthy way would most likely be a game bug that would be fixed soon. As for now, Yilin speculated that if there was a third time, he would probably be arrested by the guards. As for the consequences of being arrested, Yilin did not intend to understand. When Yilin walked out of the armor shop, it could be said that she had changed from a shotgun to a cannon. She had changed into a complete set of leather armor, and her whole person looked several levels higher. The little man who had been squatting by the wall finally waited until Yilin came out and exclaimed in shock, "What the hell? Didn't the armor shop say it was stolen? How did you buy it? Was it cheated?" Yilin looked at the little dwarf thoughtfully. The corner of the short man's mouth twitched. Although his eyes were too small to see clearly, Yilin knew that he was staring at her. Finally, it was Yilin who broke this awkwardness. Of course he wouldn't tell the dwarf how to pluck wool, but just asked, "You, player." Upon hearing this, the little dwarf suddenly jumped up from the ground with hair all over his body. "Wait, you too? Are you also a player trapped in the game? Really?" Fellow, the short man was extremely excited. Wearing a colorful miscellaneous outfit, he hugged Yilin's legs and cried bitterly, "Fat man, I finally found an organization." Woo. Neither seemed to notice. At the same time, outside on the street corner, two figures were sneaking behind the wall, watching the dwarf wailing at the door of the armor shop, and Yilin, who had changed his equipment. "I've been paying attention to them for a while, and their action patterns are different from everyone else in this trial world." "Huh, apostle. It's not like that. Rather than saying they are apostles, it's more like they are playing this game." "No way, players in the game world? This plot setting is a bit interesting." "So they are, the natives of this world. It's very possible. Haven't you noticed that in every trial we have, there is always a small group of people who have constant adventures and too many scenes, and they can't die no matter what? If I am not wrong, these two action modes, someone who is completely different from other NPCs is likely to be the protagonist of this trial world. Is it right to follow them? But we don't rule out the possibility that the apostle is showing off. You'll know after you give it a try." "That makes sense, huh? Huh? There's a dog over there." "Dog? That's more realistic. The protagonist brings his own pet. Our main mission this time is likely to be related to them." Walk. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 344. Have you lost your memory? The same to you. Yilin and Xiaozi found a deserted corner of Labu town. The two looked at each other. The encounters were so similar. It's over, it's over. Li Erpang looked sad. Yilin secretly shook his head. The psychological quality of the players this year is not good. Actually, it's not that pessimistic. I can probably guess our current situation. We should be trapped in a game world called Uranos for some reason. According to my current knowledge, this kind of game should be very high-end. Our bodies may be in a life support cabin state now, and we shouldn't have to worry about dying in the real world for a while. Another possibility is that since this phenomenon of being trapped in a game is not unique, there should be someone in the real world who is trying to rescue us. There was too little information, so Yilin could only make blind guesses. After all, even the memory is gone, so the accuracy of this inference can be imagined. Yilin knew what was going on. It was just to comfort the little man named Li Erpang. Another very important point is, he vaguely felt that this little man looked familiar. If you insist that it is an illusion, it would be somewhat unreasonable. Yilin would rather believe that they knew each other in the real world before losing their memory. Everyone is a player, so it's not surprising that they look familiar to each other. Correct. Yilin suddenly remembered something. He pretended to mention it casually and asked, "I found that when we entered the game world, we brought our own talents, skills, and props." Acridine. Li Erpang didn't hide anything. "Do you have any props similar to weapons among your props?" There's a fart. It was okay not to mention this matter, but when he mentioned it, Li Erpang immediately became angry. I don't know which bastard actually stole the whole system store. Fatty, I finally saved enough money by completing side missions and running errands, and I was going to buy an awesome new weapon, but the weapon store was actually emptied. Fortunately, I was smart and found a hidden branch line in the town. I was rewarded with a rusty kitchen knife. I also pried a wooden barrel lid from someone else's house and asked a blacksmith to make a rude wooden shield. Finally, I gave him a rusty kitchen knife. I successfully changed my job. Yilin listened to Li Erpang's experience. Somewhat unexpected. What surprised him was not how miserable the little man was. After all, he was still the culprit of this incident. Of course, Yilin had no intention of telling the truth. A white lie, no matter how false it is still a white lie. What surprised Yilin was that when the weapons dealer was stolen, this little man found another way to obtain weapons and shields through dry roads without waterways. It was really awesome. This guy has something. Could it be that, as he had speculated at the beginning, anyone who could be trapped in the game world was not an ordinary player? Are they all elite players? Ordinary people are not qualified to be trapped in the game. Could it be that the super game in the 10,086th closed test was caused by some kind of accident? To be honest, after learning about Li Erpang's experience, Yilin was impressed by Li Erpang, who looked a bit wretched and was not outstanding in height. Li Erpang finished venting his inner complaints in one breath, then thought about it and came to his senses. Ouch. Wrong. Wait a minute, don't you have it? How is that possible? I'm just asking. Yilin's expression was calm, without any flaws. That's pretty much it? Li Erpang's heart instantly felt balanced. He quietly glanced at the weapon on Yilin's waist. Although it was much more glamorous than his rusty kitchen knife and wooden barrel lid, it was still just a novice weapon, so there was no need to be envious, no need. Really, it's not necessary. Li Erpang's new profession is warrior. The weapon is a rusty kitchen knife. The offhand weapon is a barrel lid. Although its defense is limited, it can block slimes and the like, so it shouldn't be a big problem. When changing jobs, Li Erpang also received the main mission of going to Port Izada to find Priest Gil. Since the two amnesiac players met together, they had nothing to say. They decided to form a team and go all the way north to the northern port of Izada, and finish the main mission first. Li Erpang is indeed a senior elite player. Under such a miserable start, he was able to raise his level to LV7 by himself, which is not bad. When Li Erpang talked about this himself, he looked modest. Actually, it's nothing. I just have a little skill and I can reach level 7 by killing monsters alone in such a short time. If you work harder and have higher talent, you can do it. It doesn't matter, no one knows better than me. Playing games, we are fellow villagers here, Fatty, I will never lose you. The words were modest, but Li Erpang's expression had a strong Versailles flavor. Yilin thought for a while and decided not to reveal his true level. After pulling Li Erpang into the team, Li Erpang looked at the profile picture of his dog teammate and was so shocked that his eyes almost popped out of his head. Is this a teammate? Not a pet? Yilin had already anticipated Li Erpang's reaction to Wang Tiandi, and casually explained, it should be an adventurer. Wait a minute. Li Erpang suddenly came closer and whispered in Yilin's ear, this dog, couldn't it be a player? Yilin was stunned. The two of them thought of such a scene at the same time. A dog was lying in the life support cabin, wearing equipment on its head and raising the corners of its mouth, showing its evil charm. After a while, Li Erpang shook his head quickly and put that terrible scene away from his mind. It's impossible, impossible. How is it possible? It's fake, it's fake. Yilin chuckled. Although everyone in the virtual world can be a man or a woman, across the network cable, it is full of surprises and accidents. But if it's not even a human being, then this virtual world is too scary. Soon, classmate Li Erpang accepted the evil setting of dog teammate. It's a game world anyway, everything is decided by the designer, nothing is impossible. He just wants to go home now, go home. Before departure, Yilin thought for a while, then took out a pack of props from the props and gave it to Li Erpang. Li Erpang took it and looked at it in confusion. His hands were shaking and he almost lost his grip. Damn it! It's medicinal herbs. And it's a big bag. Why do you have so many? Well, I completed a grocer's hidden side mission. This is considered a mission reward. Ah, this? Are you kidding me? Wasn't the grocery store stolen? Done before it was stolen. Yilin's expression remained unchanged. He quietly glanced at the side mission, the doubts of the grocer in Labutown, side mission, the anger of the priest in the church in Rabtown. It is estimated that this task will never be completed in this lifetime. After all, he stole too much. And what the old priest gave, was really too little. The mission rewards were completely out of proportion to the value of the goods. After weighing the pros and cons, Yilin decided to ignore these two missions. The batch of herbs and crystal energy vials alone are worth the consumption along the way. That pure no attribute crystal 99, light attribute crystal 1. I guess I can sell it for a lot of money when I get to a big city later. So, let's forget about side quests and stuff this time. Definitely next time. Yilin said with a smile, saying a happy farewell to Novice Village. What? It's okay, let's go. Deng 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 deng. 2 people and 1 dog formed a team and marched bravely into the Labu Basin. Now, with their levels, even Li Erpang, the lowest level member in the team, is far beyond the upper limit of the surrounding monsters, and there is no challenge. A master is lonely. Li Erpang chopped the flaming flying snake opposite him into pieces with a kitchen knife. He looked up at the sky, showing an expression of feeling overwhelmed by the cold at the top. Is it really worthy of being an RPG gold-earning game, directly eliminating all operations, level is king? While Yilin was killing monsters, she still didn't forget to ponder the mechanics of this game world. It seems that it is his habit to think about problems at any time. Although Yilin's memory was gone, he still kept some habits that were imprinted in his instincts. Another example, picking at dead skin. Yilin couldn't figure out why, and what kind of identity he had in the real world, he had this little habit of picking his forehead. What's even more weird is that there is indeed a piece of skin on his forehead that feels very strange to the touch. It is cold and smooth to the touch and very comfortable. No wonder he has developed this habit. But this is obviously a game world. Is it possible that the projection is synchronized with the body in the real world? Yilin frowned. He always feels that theoretically, this kind of technology is not that easy to implement. And it's not necessary. What's the most fun in the game? Face pinching. Get in shape. Change your clothes. Who plays games without wanting to experience a pretentious life that is different from the real world? Using a body that is exactly the same as in reality is completely unreasonable and has no selling point or enjoyment. Yilin made the above inference based on cognition. Go go go. Rush. 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 I'll tank, you and the dog can deal damage without any worries. Just OT. Li Erpang was spouting dirty words with unclear meaning all the way. It feels very professional. It's a real-person game world where people are struggling to survive. Under the pressure of level crushing, Yilin's team has no such tense atmosphere at all, crushing them all the way. Very little experience. Yilin sighed. Although she had little experience, Yilin's original experience value was at 99%. After killing a few waves, a golden light fell, pushing Yilin to LV10. Li Erpang saw that Yulin could level up by swiping such a weak monster. He understood in his heart and looked proud. He smiled and said, although the level of the monsters here is not high, you should be able to gain enough experience. If you don't know how to swipe it, let's go again? It doesn't matter if the level is low, it will be safer to push the map more safely. Li Erpang had an expression like I am an experienced driver, no one knows the game better than me. Yulin lowered his head. He silently opened the God's Gift panel and added all 3 God's Gift points in one breath. When equipped with a dagger, heart rate will increase by 1%. Knowing damage add 5%. Venom Assassination. Another skill. When Yulin reached LV10, she picked up a new skill, feeling happy and walking happily. Venom Assassination. Type active, combat, map. Consumption 30 crystal energy. Effect inflicts a sharp blow on the target with poison status, and the damage is increased by 50%. The poison status will be cleared after using the skill. Oh drink. It turns out that assassins use combo moves? Yulin suddenly understood. After acquiring the new skill, Yulin was already simulating the next combo in her mind while the monster in the circle was not very strong. Can the skill effect of poison assassination be superimposed with the talent skill shadow kill? Can it trigger understanding? Yulin was thinking seriously about a certain combo that Li Erpang might suspect of cheating. Finished another wave of mobs. The experience was dull. Dropping a gooey liquid. The team of 2 people and 1 dog pushed all the way and reached the edge of the Labu basin. Not far away, the lush woods are right in front of you. But at this moment, Li Erpang suddenly raised his head, moved his right hand horizontally, and blocked Yulin's face, frowning slightly and squinting his eyes. This expression and movement are very professional and full of vigilance. Be careful, there is a situation. As early as when Li Erpang reminded him loudly. The dog following behind had already raised its ears, as if it heard something. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 345. Take a few more steps. Yulin also heard strange sounds in the distance. Someone is spawning monsters. Yulin made an inference after carefully identifying it for a few seconds. Player. Li Erpang's expression lit up when he heard that someone was spawning monsters. After all, he now knows that he is not the only player who is trapped in the game world. When Yulin said that someone was spawning monsters, this was the first thought that came to his mind. It's hard to say. It might be an NPC adventurer. Let's go and have a look. Li Erpang had no objection to Yulin's decision. The 2 of them turned over the grass, and suddenly their eyes opened up. After crushing all the way, the team of 2 people and 1 dog had reached the edge of the Labu basin. Perhaps because the level difference is too big, you can no longer gain much experience points by slaying low-level monsters. Along the way, Yulin's level is still LV10 and has not improved. On the contrary, Li Erpang has been promoted to another level. According to the markings on the Gaia map purchased by Yulin, they are currently at the boundary between the Rabu Basin and the Moonlight Jungle, and are about to cross the basin and head north to reach the next monster area. This game does follow certain rules. No matter how many monsters they kill, new monsters will soon appear to fill the original gaps, and there will be endless descendants. To put it simply, it means weird, it happened again. They had just cleared an area, and when they looked back, they saw groups of mobs coming out, making it impossible to clear the area. It's really a game. While Yulin was sighing, Li Erpang squinted his eyes and pointed at the aperture not far away. They're spawning monsters. What a fuss. Yulin didn't answer, but looked in that direction and observed silently. In the light circle, 2 well-equipped adventurers, 1 man and 1 woman, were using the turn-based mechanism to smoke the monsters on the opposite side. In the circle of light, facing the 2 adventurers, there were three monsters that had never appeared in the Moonlight Jungle. The three monsters are humanoid, with green and pimpled skin all over their bodies. Their heads have ferocious facial features, and their long fangs are dripping with sticky saliva. They are covered with simple fur to cover inharmonious parts. At first glance, it looks like the kind of exterior design style that makes you want to die. Huh? It seems like a goblin. Goblin. It's a kind of mob that is common in games. It usually has a low level. It lives in groups and can use some simple weapons. Its lethality is much higher than that of slimes. Li Erpang kept talking about the goblin. Lin's information, and then quickly reacted and glanced at Yulin curiously. Wait a minute, as a high-end player, you don't even know about goblins, right? Yulin chuckled, people are good at different types of games. That's right. But I'm different. There's no game I don't understand. Li Erpang quickly accepted Yulin's explanation. After all, everyone has lost their memory, so it's not surprising that they have this problem. After seeing the type of monster clearly, Li Erpang suddenly lowered his head in confusion and murmured in a low voice, "It's strange, why do the three words goblin always make me feel unbearable? What's the meaning of no misery? Some type of... nothing, nothing." The three goblins all have big red LV9 logos on their heads. This is obviously a monster from the Moonlight Jungle, and cannot be compared to the novice cute monster in the Lebu Basin. But the two adventurers in the aperture had calm expressions. Under the turn-based system, they chose to act quickly without much hesitation. After Yulin and Li Erpang observed for a long time, the two of them ended the battle quickly due to their numerical weakness. The weapons of the two of them, the male adventurer is equipped with a one-handed sword and a shield in one hand. The female adventurer, however, holds a long whip and has sassy short hair. The tight-fitting leather armor is tightly wrapped, with uneven front and back, and long and slender legs, which is very attractive. Li Erpang's expression changed instantly. He suddenly had the illusion that his chest had been hit by a hammer. Ah, this feeling is. Don't forget this is a game world. It looks like a woman, maybe there's a dog behind the cable. Yulin saw Li Erpang's expression and subconsciously reminded him. Ah, this? How is it possible? Although Li Erpang didn't believe it, when Yulin connected beauty and dog, Li Erpang instantly felt that the throbbing disappeared without a trace, becoming dull and difficult to be impulsive. When Yulin was trying to persuade Li Erpang, the two adventurers who had finished the turn-based battle also looked at Yulin and Li Erpang. Yulin stepped forward with a kind smile. The two adventurers looked at each other and quickly looked away. "Hello," Yulin said with a smile. The male adventurer had a smile on his face, with a hint of the majesty of a superior. He stretched out his hand towards Yulin and said with a smile, "Hello. Nice to meet you." Yulin said again. The male adventurer slowly typed a question mark. His expression remained unchanged. He paused for a moment, and then imitated Yulin's tone, "Nice to meet you." Yulin shook hands with him, thought for a while, and then said, "The sun is so bright today." The expression of the man opposite Yulin who was shaking hands finally changed. He twitched the corner of his mouth. "Don't know how to proceed. Is the line design in this game world so random? Not that bad. This NPC is a bit unconventional. Under normal circumstances, when the protagonist sees a powerful adventurer, shouldn't he release his bastard spirit and recruit him as a partner? No matter how bad it is, according to a more normal routine, it should immediately indicate that the protagonist has encountered a powerful monster and needs help, and by the way, release the task and give some rewards or something, right? Your unconventional protagonist talks so much that it's hard to follow the train." Behind the man, the short-haired girl with a small leather whip hanging from her waist finally couldn't hold it in any longer. "Are you?" When the girl was about to say these words, the man's expression changed slightly, he quickly took his hand out of Yi Lin's hand and waved it gently. The woman shut her mouth instantly. The short-haired girl didn't say all of that though. But Li Erpang realized it. He took a step forward, opened his mouth and asked, "Are you also a player trapped in this game?" Game. Player. When the two people opposite heard this, subtle changes appeared on their faces. This expression change involves the field of micro-expressions. If you don't look carefully or pay attention, you will basically not notice it. 2 seconds later. The man smiled helplessly, "Yes, we are also trapped in this damn game." Li Erpang let out a long sigh. The expression is sad. Emotions in place. He looked up at the sky. But out of the corner of his squinted eyes, he secretly glanced at the hot-bodied woman with short hair. Tisk tisk, this is a woman. Compare with. This thought just flashed through Li Erpang's mind. He himself was stunned. Compare with? Compare with whom? Strange. What's wrong with the sadness and regret that comes out of my heart for no reason? Could it be that the fat man has never touched a woman in the real world? It shouldn't be. Li Erpang felt that his mood was strange. But he didn't think much about it. After his emotions were in place, he said what he had been brewing for a long time, "We are all downgraded people from the end of the world. I didn't expect that there are so many elite players trapped in this kind of game. Just compensation, this game company can't go bankrupt," the man echoed. "Since we are fellow villagers and also hard-working players trapped in the game world," after a brief introduction to each other, the two of them joined the team of Yi Lin, Li Erpang, and Go. The team configuration was instantly complete, becoming 4 people and 1 dog. The man's name is Ning Yu, a professional warrior, a one-handed sword given by God, and an ominous level. The woman's name is Xiao Chuer, a professional warrior, the God-given root is a long whip, her level is unknown. Although I don't know the specific levels of Ning Yu and Xiao Chuer, judging from the fact that they can easily kill 3 LV9 goblins, they should be at a high level. After Ning Yu and Xiao Chuer joined the team, classmate Li Erpang felt that his leadership position in the team had been challenged unprecedentedly. This is not good. Li Erpang was full of energy. It seems that the emotion of struggle can be read on his face. One face was red from holding back and shaped like a chrysanthemum. The group shared their respective tasks in a friendly manner. Ning Yu and Xiao Chuer also took up the main line of the church priest and prepared to pass through the moonlight jungle and endless swamp to reach Izada Port to find a great priest named Gil. The mission is very clear. Several people even had a reason to go together. After all, this game world still looks very dangerous. What to do if you are suddenly attacked by a high-level monster? Under the turn-based mechanism, you can't just run away if you want to. Yi Lin and Li Erpang have already tried it. After entering the fighting state, there is still a certain success rate for successfully escaping. Yi Lin speculated that the success rate had a certain relationship with agility and level. He did manage to escape a few times. And classmate Li Erpang, don't mention it, he got beaten a lot just to escape. So, this is also the pitfall of turn-based games. Everything is determined by attributes and levels. Even in the real world, the player's operating skills are so ridiculous that he can use his hands to move the banana peel up and down to completely turn the banana peel into a flower. But in this game world, all the superb skills are useless, which is very frustrating. This is why Li Erpang is determined to add points to the tank route that has high HP and thick defense. As long as the monster can't kill the fat man, he will eventually grind the monster to death. 4 people and 1 dog formed a team and fought into the moonlight jungle. Perhaps because the number of people in the team increased and joined the battle circle, the number of monsters increased sharply. Yi Lin and his party have encountered at most 8 little monsters standing across from them. They can be described as arrogant, ferocious-looking, and very scary. The levels of monsters range from LV9 Goblin, LV10 Moonlight Wolf, LV11 Bloodthirsty Vine, LV12 Night Dryad, LV13 Goblin Squad Leader in Yulin and the others formed a small gang in a hurry, and they seemed to be determined to kill this group of adventurers who did not know life or death. They were very cruel. When monsters form a team, it's not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. As the level of the monster increased, the monster's attacks also brought many effects that made Li Erpang say F***ck. For example, Goblin's attack power is extremely high. Moonlight Wolf is fast and can even attack in 2 stages. The Bloodthirsty Vines had the negative status of bleeding when they attacked, making Li Erpang feel like he was an ant, constantly losing blood. The branches of the Night Dryad can restrict the movement of adventurers. Anyway, the high AI of the monsters on the opposite side simply combined various abilities into a wonderful combination, which was an eye-opener for Yilin and his party, and the pressure of killing monsters increased sharply. Until late at night. In the jungle, there were cries of ghosts, howling of wolves, chirping of insects and chirping of birds, mixed with the strange calls of some unknown creatures. A golden light shot straight towards Yilin Tianling Gai. Congratulations, your level has been improved. Level increased to LV15. Get God-given points. Yilin felt comfortable all over. I feel like I'm getting stronger again. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 346. Unknowingly. 4 people and 1 dog were silently killing monsters. It was already late at night. But they haven't left the moonlight jungle yet. The scope of this forest is really too large. In addition, the surrounding light was not good, so Li Erpang, who was leading the way ahead, did not dare to walk too fast for fear of being eaten by monsters. Once you are beaten. What a miserable ending. In this team, it can be said that Li Erpang is the least agile. Everyone might have managed to escape. Except him. Li Erpang would never think that this group of teammates could really explode into a small universe at the critical moment to save his tank from danger. When disaster strikes, they all fly away, which is a very normal operation among players. Huh? Is that normal? Li Erpang thought about it and was surprised by his sudden pessimism. Logically speaking, players should be a very friendly group. Have fun fighting monsters, team up and level up. Why do I, Fatty, subconsciously think that this group is so insidious? Li Erpang fell into deep thought for a moment. He vaguely realized that he seemed to have forgotten something very important. Life and death matter. What's in front? After swiping a wave of monsters, and just putting away the long whip with a lot of wrinkles, Xiao Chuer suddenly focused his eyes and looked forward. Not far away, there seemed to be an empty flat land. In the lush dense forest, this clearing seemed a bit abrupt. Several people were fighting all the way and were very tired from the dust. Even though Yilin had just upgraded, her health and energy points were instantly restored and refreshed in place, she couldn't stop this tiredness. This kind of fatigue comes from the spirit and cannot be easily diluted by the light of upgrade. Ningyu smiled slightly. I don't think we can level up all night. There should be a place similar to a campsite in front of us. Many games have this kind of setting. Li Erpang glanced at Ningyu with a hint of displeasure. Do you really think that having the word right in your name will give you face? Didn't you know that you robbed your fat master? Don't you understand who is the leader of the team? Think of this. Fatty Li inserted the rusty kitchen knife with many holes into his waist, pushed the cracked wooden barrel lid behind him, held his head high and walked towards the open space with small steps. Although Li Erpang seemed brave, his cautious little steps betrayed his truest thoughts. Fortunately, no accident occurred. Several people came to the open space. In the center of the open space, there was a bonfire that had been extinguished for an unknown period of time. Most of the firewood inside had been burned into charcoal, with no remaining heat. This should be left by the previous adventurers. Yilin said. Lao Wangtiandi praised him very much. Ningyu smiled slightly. In fact, it may be the scene setting in the game. Don't forget that this is a game world. Xiao Chuer curled her lips. According to what you say, there might be some hidden missions here. While several people were chatting, Yilin was squatting beside the extinguished bonfire and took out an unknown long rod-shaped object from the props column. The others looked at Yilin's inexplicable movements and were confused. Yilin did not explain. I saw him snapping a hidden button behind a long pole. At the end of the long pole, a fiery red light flashed, and a small beam of bright flame was spit out. What the hum? A lighter. The style of painting was suddenly so completely destroyed that Li Erpang felt messy in the wind. Although the small flame was weak, under the blessing of some mysterious rules, it was able to successfully rekindle the extinguished bonfire. Where did you get your lighter? After Yilin successfully lit the bonfire. There was no hiding it either. He smiled and said, "This is sold in grocery stores. It costs 50 G each. It is called an igniter and has a 20-time use limit. This should be because there is a small crystal embedded in the front, which plays a role." Li Erpang suddenly remembered something and wondered, wait a minute, wasn't the grocery store stolen? Which grocery store did you buy it from? Yilin's smile instantly faded, and she glanced at Li Erpang with an expressionless look on her face, reluctant to block that mouth with fire. Rewards for hidden missions. Damn it, do you have so many rewards for this hidden mission? Li Erpang thought of the pack of herbs again. The brief conversation between the two made Ningyu and Xiao Chuer more convinced of one thing. As expected of the protagonist. The blazing fire dispelled the darkness and made the empty campsite much warmer. Li Erpang sat down. But he still said worriedly, signing such a big fire in this jungle won't attract all the monsters, right? Yilin chuckled and started working without saying a word. But Ningyu was already familiar with many game mechanisms. He glanced at Yilin and Li Erpang without any trace, and explained, I think you should have discovered that the activities of these monsters have a certain range. Within a certain range only when you enter the monster's sight, or actively attack, will you enter the combat state. Ningyu looked around and added, when we approached this open space just now, we didn't see any trace of monsters. Logically speaking, this should be a specially set up place for resting. In theory, it should be very safe here. Li Erpang chuckled and gave a thumbs up to Ning, heroes see the same thing. Xiao Chuer. This little dwarf is a bit shameless. No wonder he can be the companion of the protagonist, in this trial world. Bang bang bang. Ningyu didn't criticize the little fat man's vanity and shameless lines. Anyway, it didn't cost money to increase the favorability of the natives, so why not do it? Thinking of this, he added, but trying, in the game world, everything is possible. The view is not good at night, and it is too risky to continue to farm monsters in the forest. If you rest here tonight, I suggest that it will be safer if we take turns keeping vigil. Li Erpang held his chin with one hand, squinted his eyes, and pondered for a moment, as if he was trying hard to suppress the strength of a senior player. Everyone. In order to break the awkward silence, Li Erpang pretended that he had not farted. Instead, he squinted his eyes and said solemnly, I agree. This game is too real. Except for the battle mode, other injuries, hunger, fatigue, and physical strain can be said to be 100% simulated. Really, hey, if you put it this way, could it be, that it can be very lifelike? Bang bang bang. Ahem. Li Erpang said, realizing that he was off topic, he coughed twice quickly, returned the topic to the original point, and continued, after all, I have been trapped in this game for so long, and I haven't found anything similar to the resurrection point. That kind of thing. I guess if you die in the game, you are probably dead. Instead of grinding all night long against fatigue, it is better to rest properly, recharge your batteries, and wait until daytime to grind again, you will a little more secure and safe. Perfect. After Li Erpang finished speaking, he silently gave a thumbs up to his speech. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Erpang quickly turned his head in Yilin's direction and asked with a shy face, "Hey, what do you think? Ouch. What the hell? Where did you get such a thing?" Li Erpang originally wanted to hear Yilin's opinion. He subconsciously felt that it would be safer to listen to Yilin's thoughts at this time. But when he turned his head, Li Erpang was dumbfounded for an instant. While several people were discussing, Yilin silently set up a barbecue grill on the campfire, with a brand new pot next to it. Ouch. Damn it, there's still water in the pot. It's starting to bubble? Where did you guys get this? Ridiculous. This is obviously an arduous experience of slaying monsters, but why did you do this to make them look like they were on an outing for a barbecue? Yilin chuckled. After setting up the shelf, he walked nearby and picked up a few long and narrow branches. He took out a small dagger and chopped them briefly to make a fork. He also took out a few bloody pieces of moonlight wolf leg meat from the props and grilled them happily on a simple barbecue grill. Here, take it and pay attention to the heat. Yilin thrust the fork with the wolf's leg meat into Li Erpang's hand. Li Erpang looked indifferent. He felt that there was countless noise in his heart at this moment, but he didn't know where to spit it out. He could only hold his fork numbly. The moonlight wolf leg meat was smoking sizzlingly in the fire, and the oil seeped out of the surface as it was roasted by the high temperature, making it sizzling and shiny, very attractive. Li Erpang was roasting, and he didn't bother to ask questions despite his hungry belly. Although he had a lot of doubts in his heart, all he could see were these pieces of fragrant barbecue, and he couldn't wait to bite into it. Mouthful of gravy. That scene is extremely beautiful just by imagining it. Li Erpang felt even hungrier. Ning Yu and Xiao Chuer looked at each other, even more surprised, but remained silent and sat down on the ground of the bonfire, about half a meter apart. Yilin was skilled in his skills. In the Lebu basin, he killed the flaming flying snake and exploded a lot of snake meat. Yilin added all of it into the pot. Immediately afterwards, as if by magic, Yilin took out a bunch of bottles and cans from the props. Li Erpang took a closer look and said in his heart, "Holy shit, what Yilin took out was actually some seasoning ground into powder." Yilin casually sprinkled the seasoning on the fragrant wolf leg meat with an extremely professional technique. Not a moment. The aroma of snake meat soup and roasted wolf legs complement each other in this open space, which is very tempting. Fatty Li drooled and dripped at his feet. Suck it? Li Erpang wiped the saliva from his mouth and finally remembered to ask some questions. By the way, where did you get all these pots, pans, barbecue grills? Grocery store. Isn't the grocery store stolen? Hidden mission, hidden mission. Ah, is this salt? Rock salt powder, sold in grocery stores, 20g/bottle. Why are you so skilled in your skills? Haha, what's this? I've tried to fight picnics under worse circumstances. When Yilin said these words, she frowned slightly, as if she remembered something, but she couldn't remember anything. Yes, why am I so skilled? Could it be that in reality, he also grills wolf kebabs part-time? Although Yilin was confused, his tone was just a slight pause and he didn't act too weird. Li Erpang, Ning Yu, and Xiao Chuer didn't notice the rapid change in Yilin's psychology during this pause. Ning Yu and Xiao Chuer went from being surprised at the beginning, to numbness at the end, to the emotions in their hearts when they bit into the wolf leg meat. Throughout the process, their ideas changed again and again. Although they were apostles, their time in this world was too short and they did not have time to explore more. But this protagonist, look, even prepared a sumptuous picnic. The protagonist, you really deserve to be the protagonist. Ning Yu took a hard bite of the fragrant roasted moonlight wolf legs sprinkled with various spices, and felt lucky that he could follow this important plot line. Logically speaking, this should be a 5-person trial, since they have followed the lead of the protagonist. I wonder how the other 3 apostles who did not appear are doing now. It shouldn't be as moisturizing as them, right? Ningyu and Xiao Chu were chewing on the fragrant wolf leg meat and drinking the sweet snake meat soup, thinking silently in their hearts. Ah, it smells so good. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 347. After a group of people had eaten and drank enough, Li Erpang burped contentedly and patted his bulging belly, but he was a little dissatisfied. He always felt that he shouldn't be such a thin figure. Li Erpang vaguely remembered that he should be stronger, more majestic, taller, and broader. In short, something is wrong. Certainly. He has amnesia now and everything he says is correct. The team of 4 people and 1 dog was divided into 3 groups to keep vigil. Yilin and Li Erpang are in a group. Ningyu and Xiao Chu are in a group. The third group, dogs. Because dogs are so talented, there is nothing wrong with them if they are in a group alone. Whenever something happens, just a few barks will wake everyone up. Now, it's quiet at night. It was quiet all around. It seems that the monster has also fallen asleep. Everything is completely silent, which is a good time for mating. Occasionally, a few wolf howls sounded from the darkness in the distance, adding a strange atmosphere to the silence. Ningyu and Xiao Chu were leaning far away on the edge of the open space, keeping company with the darkness. From time to time, they glanced at Yilin, Li Erpang, and the dog. Their figures could be seen across the bonfire. Their breathing was gentle, and they were obviously asleep. There was a full meter between Ningyu and Xiao Chu. This distance is safe enough for both of them. Of course they didn't paddle either. After all, it was about their own safety, so both of them looked around cautiously, not daring to let down their guard. From the perspective of Ningyu and Xiao Chu Yilin and Li Erpang, as players, only speculate that once they die in the game, they may really die. As apostles, Ningyu and Xiao Chu can be 100% sure that if their health bar is cleared in the game world, they will definitely die, and there is absolutely no possibility of resurrection. According to the information they collected, there seems to be a god called Uranos in this world, who is talked about by every NPC every day. But this god in the game world has no mechanism like a resurrection point at all. This made Ningyu and Xiao Chu very suspicious, whether this cheating turn-based game was specially designed for hardcore players who would feel uncomfortable if they were not abused for a minute. Once you die and start the game again, who plays this kind of game? Shibai is a good way to play. Which game company made this kind of cheating game? Could it be that the gameplay of players are trapped in the game world, and once they die, they really die is also part of the experience of the game itself, right? There was silence for a long time. Xiao Chu confirmed several times that the 2 people and the dog on the other side of the bonfire were indeed fast asleep, and then she laughed softly and broke the silence. Huh, what do you think? Ningyu didn't answer, but asked, what do you think? Xiao Chu is also well aware of the various twists and turns in communication between apostles, and is not annoyed. She smiles even more. Didn't you say you are a senior actor? What do you think of their remarks? Ningyu touched his chin, his eyes narrowed, and he touched his pocket subconsciously, but his movements froze, and he smiled helplessly. This game is so realistic, I forgot that there is no smoke here. Actually, as an actor, I'm not too senior, I've just been in the entertainment industry for a few years. But Ningyu put down the hand that was groping for the cigarette again, casually placed it on the hilt of the sword at his waist, and said in a low voice, but I can also tell that from some of their actions, tone of voice, expression, and even their eyes, they really have lost their memory. It doesn't look like they're cheating. I tested them a few times in a very secretive manner on the way. They must not be apostles. Unless their acting skills are so superb that even I can hide them. Since you said so, I will believe it. So what should we do next? In addition to us, there are 3 apostles who are also unknown where. Will the release form of the main mission this time be in accordance with the main storyline in the game? Let's go on a mission. Ningyu closed his eyes and spoke calmly, we can't rule out this possibility. You don't usually visit the forum, right? All kinds of trial tasks may appear, and some are even weirder than what we have now. Of course, no matter how weird it is, in the more terrifying mission mode, it is possible that no one can come out alive, so no one knows. Xiao Chuer lowered his head and thought for a moment. The strong bonfire cast her shadow into the shadow of the trees behind her, swaying unsteadily. So now it seems that the only 2 protagonists left to follow are them. What's wrong with following? As a protagonist in the trial world, you will always encounter many things. To put it nicely, it means you have good luck, but to put it badly, you are always in the center of the whirlpool, and you can fall into trouble anytime and anywhere. Possible. What about the protagonist? It's not like he can't. As he spoke, Ningyu didn't make the next words too clear. He just silently pulled out the one-handed sword on his waist, and a cold light appeared. Xiao Chuer smiled. Lower your head. His fingers played with the hem of his clothes in boredom. This leather jacket is so tight and uncomfortable to wear. Good body. Ningyu raised his head, his eyes fell on Xiao Chuer's tight leather coat, and he smiled. Xiao Chuer laughed dumbly, you don't like picking up girls in trials, do you? Sorry, I'm not your fan. Ningyu spread his hands coolly and expressed his apology. Xiao Chuer added, if it were replaced by Li Chang'e, it would be about the same. Ningyu instantly felt that his soul had been hit hard. He couldn't figure out what was so good about that pretty boy. Why does it seem like she is a woman and she is a fan of Li Chang'e? In this day and age, aren't the acting schools popular anymore? Ningyu was very helpless. When the 2 of them were whispering and talking about private topics, neither of them noticed that there was a shadow in Xiao Chuer's swaying shadow that separated strangely, and disappeared in the darkness in the blink of an eye. Another moment passed. The 2 of them said nothing more. After all, the 2 protagonists and the pet were sleeping soundly on the opposite side of the campfire. But there is no guarantee, he has the habit of getting up at night to urinate again, and there is a possibility that he accidentally heard it. Ningyu and Xiao Chuer are used to being cautious, and are always vigilant about their surroundings. Ouch! Suddenly, a powerful and slightly sad howl broke the silence of the night. Wang Tiandi, who had been lying next to the bonfire with his ears erect and his eyes closed to keep warm, reacted the fastest. He suddenly raised his eyes and his green dog eyes seemed to shine like light bulbs in the darkness, very sharp. There's a situation. Yilin suddenly walked out of the darkness and reminded. When Ningyu heard the words, he stood up suddenly and listened carefully, distinguishing the wolf howl that sounded obviously different from the ordinary moonlight wolf. The howl of the wolf was louder, more shrill, and longer lasting than the ordinary moonlight wolf. When the howling of wolves started, the entire quiet moonlight jungle, like a pool of stagnant water that had been mined, boiled completely. Countless birds started up and flew over the heads of several people, leaving a blanket. Moonlight shadows. Its boss. Although Li Erpang slept very deeply, he was not at the point where he was completely unaware of the approaching danger. After the wolf howled and Yilin reminded him, he bounced up from the ground and rolled on the spot. He quickly and skillfully took out the rusty kitchen knife and wooden barrel lid. His equipment was neatly arranged and he stared at the wolf with squinted eyes. The direction from which the howl came. Including Emperor Wang Tian, all adventurers did not dare to be careless. Deep in the jungle, there was a rustle and vibration. It seemed like there was some huge creature moving quickly in the jungle. The wolves howled one after another, getting closer and closer. Su. Other monsters in the jungle suddenly jumped out of the darkness. Li Erpang's hair stood on end, and he subconsciously wanted to run. But then I thought about it, I'm so afraid of wool. It's a turn-based system, even if an army of monsters comes, they can only join the battle in groups. Thinking of the large number of people here, Li Erpang felt that he was a rare moment of awesomeness. He puffed up his chest and pushed forward, preparing to catch all kinds of monsters jumping out of the darkness. Ning Yu, Xiao Chuer, and Yilin also did not dare to be careless and took out their weapons one after another and entered a state of preparation for war. Wang Tiandi let out a low cry, his expression became more solemn than ever before, his mouth was no longer crooked, and he pursed his lips firmly, then silently took out his fighting claws and put them on his claws. By the way, I sharpened it twice. But what no one expected was that the monsters that jumped out from the depths of the jungle did not get stuck in Li Erpang's face and enter the battle. Instead, they circumvented the open space in panic and ran as if they were running for their lives. A torrent of monsters gathered behind the clearing. So violent. Li Erpang was stunned. The experienced Li Erpang never imagined that these low-level monsters would react in such a panic. There was clearly a big guy chasing behind them. After the change occurred, Ning Yu, who had been silent all the time, suddenly said, "Have you ever thought about why this area is called Moonlight Jungle?" According to the conventional settings in the game, when an area is named, there will usually be a corresponding special boss. In Moonlight Wolf, Xiao Chuer answered. Yilin raised her head, suddenly looked in the direction behind Ning Yu and Xiao Chuer, and said, "It's the Moonlight Wolf King." Call. A gust of wind with a fishy smell came suddenly. In the darkness, two scarlet eyes suddenly lit up. Those two scarlet eyes, even though they were separated by a distance of more than 10 meters, looked like two big red light bulbs, which was extremely frightening. The moment the two light bulbs turned on, 4 people and 1 dog read the data of the shadow at the same time, almost in no particular order. Moonlight Wolf King. LV20. Why can I see so clearly? Maybe it's because of the game mechanics. Yilin has the highest level here and can barely see the level of Moonlight Wolf King. Others with lower levels can only see LV, annotation. Although the level displayed by the boss in the jungle, the Moonlight Wolf King, is slightly different in everyone's eyes. But only one thing is the same. Above the Moonlight Wolf King's forehead, there is a large skull symbol floating impressively, which is very eye-catching. Run. Yilin took a look and without saying a word, she directly reminded everyone to run away. Before Yilin finished speaking, a dog reacted faster than him. Before Yilin could speak, he ran out in a certain direction. Cao, why are you so unlucky? Li Erpang felt like crying at this moment. This Wolf King was so powerful and his level was still a series of question marks. He was clearly the final boss of this leveling area. How do you say we bumped into each other? Isn't it said that all monsters are in their own activity area, waiting to be brushed? Dog planning. Dog games. Although Yilin screamed loudly, she was not panicked. After all, his innate skills were more than enough to save his life in this situation. He thought for less than a second, and looked at Wang Tiandi who ran a distance away in the darkness, and his heart moved. If you don't want to die, stay close to your dog teammates. Church. Li Erpang shouted, his voice as loud as thunder, faintly suppressing the wolf howl, breaking the momentum of the world. But when Li Erpang heard Yilin's words, for some reason, he turned around and ran away without any hesitation. Why does the scene feel so familiar to Li Erpang? It seemed that he had experienced this embarrassing situation at some point in his life. But at this time, he didn't dare to think too much. Can't think too much. The Moonlight Wolf King was extremely fast. The surrounding woods were run over by the Wolf King, and they all broke, making a crackling sound. The stinking breath that came out of the Wolf King's mouth suddenly blew the firewood that was burning in the bonfire into the air. Sparks fell like drizzle, one after another, and completely lit up the surrounding darkness. Several people did not hesitate. After all, Yilin ran away. There are 3 people and 1 dog left, and they have no intention of fighting here. This is a turn-based game, and no matter how superb the operation skills are, it cannot make up for this cheating mechanism. In a short period of time, the Moonlight Wolf King jumped some distance in the direction where several people were running. We are about to catch up. Ningyu felt a shiver of coldness on his back. At this point, he didn't dare to hide his clumsiness. He suddenly turned around and pressed the ground behind him. Snapped. The moment Ningyu put his hand on the ground, with his palm as the center, the muddy ground rippled with strange waves, rising and falling, as if something was moving secretly in the mud. Walk. Xiao Chuer saw that Ningyu, who had been hiding his strength, finally used the innate skills that did not belong to this game world. A glimmer of light flashed in his smart eyes, but without saying anything, he passed directly over Ningyu's body, running faster. Boom. For some reason, the Moonlight Wolf King, who was like the emperor of this jungle in the dark night, had a pair of scarlet eyes filled with an emotion called anger. He jumped up, took a step with all 4 legs, and suddenly took a big step forward. After a short distance, he arrived behind Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Ah! The roaring sound that surged to the sky suddenly stopped. Just when the Moonlight Wolf King wanted to use its sharp claws to tear the hateful adventurers in front of him into pieces, the soles of his feet suddenly softened, and the sound was suddenly stopped. The cessation of howling made Menjian scared. Li Erpang turned his head instantly. But I saw this scene. The ground at the feet of the Moonlight Wolf King turned into a quagmire at some point. The 4 legs of the Moonlight Wolf King sank deeply into the mire, seemingly unable to extricate themselves, sinking deeper and deeper. What the hell? Can we fight back? Ningyu and Xiao Chuer caught up with Li Erpang, who was running ahead. After all, Li Erpang ran too slowly. When Ningyu heard that Li Erpang actually had the idea of killing him, he was so frightened that a thin layer of sweat suddenly broke out on his forehead. Fat brother, don't. This skill won't last long, run away. The Moonlight Wolf King will catch up soon. Our current level is too low, there is no need to forcefully defeat this boss. That makes sense. When Li Erpang heard this, he hurriedly ran away, not daring to think of counterattack again. It's not necessary. How can you, a warrior, unleash such a weird skill? Isn't your style wrong? Ning Ziyi ran, panting slightly, but he was still able to concentrate on answering Li Erpang's doubts, and said, innate skills, haha. Xiao Chuer had no intention of taking action from beginning to end. She chuckled lightly and said nothing more. This time, the 3 of them rushed out some distance. It was so dark in the woods that I couldn't see the road around me clearly. While running, Li Erpang suddenly discovered something. What the hell? Where's that kid? Ningyu and Xiao Chuer only reacted after hearing this. Yilin is missing. When did you disappear? This is pretty fast, right? Should I say that he really deserves to be an assassin? When Li Erpang was spawning monsters not long ago, he mocked Yilin for her thin blood, low defense, and brittleness. But at this moment, he wished he could grow a 4th leg so that he could run faster. Just when the 3 of them were lost in the jungle and didn't know which direction to run. Far away. Woof 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 woof. Wang Tiandi's cry penetrated through the layers of trees, was full of energy, and reached the ears of several people. It's that dog. Li Erpang felt that he was so happy for the first time in his life when he heard a dog barking. He quickly identified the direction from which the barking came, turned the car around, and ran straight in that direction without hesitation. "Let's go, he said, "follow the dog." Ningyu and Xiao Chu looked at each other. As the protagonist Yilin disappeared for some reason. Now only one dog is left to guide the way. Believe it or not. 1 second later. Ningyu and Xiao Chu made a decision through a brief eye contact. Keep up. How could the protagonist's dog be ordinary? This dog must have a pivotal significance in the plot. They quickly followed. Ran for a while. Suddenly, there were waves of wolf howls coming from behind. In the howl of the wolf, several people seemed to be able to distinguish that there seemed to be 3 parts anger, 3 parts shyness, 3 parts hatred, and 1 part vague pain hidden in it. Li Erpang, Ningyu, and Xiao Chu's expressions all changed. When 4 people and 1 dog were fully equipped, none of them entered the turn-based battle. Now there are only 3 people left, and there is no possibility of defeating the boss. After all, this game is too hardcore and too scary. Once you die, there is no possibility of resurrection. Even once you enter combat mode, you may not even be able to escape, which is a very cheating game mode. Once you die, there is no such thing as resurrection. You will ascend to heaven on the same spot and fall to the ground coolly. Suddenly, the barking from Wang Tiandi in the distance is getting closer and closer. Emperor Wang Tian seemed to be very kind and had no intention of abandoning the others and escaping alone. It seemed like he was using this method to guide a few people in the right direction. Gradually, Li Erpang squinted his eyes and discovered that there was a fire in front of him. There is fire. Li Erpang was instantly happy. The Moonlight Wolf King is approaching again. This time, the Moonlight Wolf King is still in a state of explosive anger. Li Erpang cannot imagine what kind of inhuman torture he will suffer if he is caught. Woof woof woof. Hurry. Someone. It's an adventurer. Oops. It turns out that monster is chasing them. Open the door, open the door. Ahead. There were many people shouting and messy footsteps coming at the same time. After running some distance, Li Erpang and others suddenly saw a bright light. This is a village isolated in a moonlit jungle. The village is not large, and a circle of open space has obviously been cleared around the village. On all sides of the village, thick branches were sharpened and made into guardrails, surrounding the village in a circle. At night, a circle of bright torches was lit on the tall spiked fence, as if to resist the invasion of monsters in the moonlight jungle. There was a whole circle of spiked fences, leaving only one entrance that could only accommodate 2 people. When Li Erpang and the other 3 arrived at a circle of open space around the village, the dog actually squatted at the open door of the village with a sinister smile. The ground waved to them. Grass. Li Erpang instantly felt that the dog's expression was very underworld, but in his desperation, he didn't care too much, he just drilled through the hole and entered through the door. The moment Ningyu and Xiao Chu saw this village, they already had something to worry about. Drama. This village obviously cannot be built overnight. It looks like it should be a safe gathering place for humans in the moonlight jungle. When they saw the hope of escape, Ningyu and Xiao Chu ran faster, passing Li Erpang on the left and right, and quickly entered the village. Hurry! Hurry! That beast is catching up. Behind the only entrance to the village, someone seemed to be hiding in the shadows. He urged Li Erpang, who was at the end, with a nervous voice. But while urging, he had already begun to slowly push up the doors made of giant wood from both sides to the middle. Wait, I. When Li Erpang took a look, he didn't know that the angry beast behind him had already reached behind his buttocks. Li Erpang could even clearly feel that the Wolf King's hot breath was spraying on the anus, making it warm and crisp. Yes, it's a little cold. While I was scared, I was also a little bit sour. The dog's eyes suddenly widened, and he turned around and slipped into the village through the crack in the door. Grass! Li Erpang roared angrily. Seeing that the two doors were about to be locked, power burst out from nowhere. He skillfully rolled on the spot, like an attacking rubber ball, and rolled through the crack in the door into the mysterious village. At the critical moment, just as Li Erpang's chest rolled into the village, the door behind his butt was completely closed, and the fence fell with a click, completely locking the village door. Boom! Suddenly, outside the village gate, a terrifying force slammed against the wooden door. Behind the wooden door, there were cracks and traces of texture. It was as if the whole village was shaking under that force. It was very scary. In the spiked fence, everyone was so frightened that they dared not come out. Hold your breath, play dead. Maybe it will be useful. Everyone was silent, not daring to make a sound. Even Ningyu and Xiao Chuer clung to the fence, not daring to move. Once you enter fighting mode, it's over. At this level, there is no way he can defeat this beast. Eerie. After the Moonlight Wolf King slapped the door hard, he scratched the door hard with his sharp claws, seeming to vent his unhappiness. This broken door, can't it be, that it can't be withstood? Li Erpang, Ningyu, and Xiao Chuer suddenly remembered the usual routines used to stimulate the audience's emotions in various popcorn movies, and couldn't help but feel worried. Li Erpang didn't dare to move or breathe. He even quietly held back the fart he had just frightened. As long as it doesn't come out of your mouth, no one will know. Through the crack in the door, Li Erpang secretly looked out. A pair of red eyes as big as a wash basin were looking at Li Erpang's narrow eyes through the narrow crack in the door. Li Erpang almost made a pig noise. Snapped. A slap suddenly stretched out from the side and slapped Li Erpang on the mouth. Although he was quite frightened by the Moonlight Wolf King's eyes, he was not enough to scream. On the contrary, it was this mysterious slap that almost made him pee. Where did this slap come from? There's no sound? Li Erpang looked along the palm. I saw Yilin with a smile on his face, and at some point he appeared next to Li Erpang. He smiled and made a SHH- gesture towards Li Erpang. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 348. Unexpected. The plot is actually not bloody. The Moonlight Wolf King whined twice, with anger, slowly retreated, and disappeared into the jungle again. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Li Erpang sat down on the ground. My butt feels cold. He didn't know if it was due to thermal expansion and contraction, but he felt as if his hips had lost weight. Damn it, where did you go just now? Li Erpang calmed down for a moment, then turned back to look at Yilin. Very different from the others who were out of breath and slightly embarrassed, Yilin was so outrageous that her hair was not messy, not to mention her clothes and sweat. This made Li Erpang very suspicious as to what method this guy used to sneak into the village. Yilin pointed at Wang Tiandi and said, I ran away with it. Didn't you see me? Li Erpang. After a while, Yilin suddenly realized and said, oh, you have bad eyesight, I don't blame you. Ningyu's breathing became smoother. He lowered his head to think and murmured to himself, looking back now, it's strange. This boss didn't come earlier or later, so why did it come here in the middle of the night? Logically speaking, the monster shouldn't be able to. They should leave their respective territories at will. Otherwise, wouldn't the world be in chaos? After all, different areas have different levels of monsters. The boss here might not even be able to beat a mob if it goes to a high-level area. If the mobs in the high-level area kill the mobs in a low-level area, they can directly defeat the boss. Seconds. Hearing this, Yilin chuckled and said, your inference is based on the premise that monsters can kill each other. Without this premise, the inference is not valid at all. After escaping from the wolf's mouth, Xiao Chuer, who had been lowering his head in deep thought, suddenly raised his head and quietly glanced at the protagonist Yilin, who was there. "I have something I don't know whether to say or not. Could it be the smell of barbecued moonlight wolf meat? Haven't you already said it?" When Li Erpang heard the beauty's tone, he complained crazily in his heart. But as soon as these words came out, Ningyu and Li Erpang brushed the floor and looked at Yilin at the same time. They suddenly understood. That's so. This is the Moonlight Jungle. Judging from the terrifying momentum of the Moonlight Wolf King, this guy is clearly the boss in this forest. The Moonlight Wolf was barbecued in the Moonlight Wolf King's territory, and the wolf meat was arrogantly sprinkled with various spices. The aroma spread 10 miles away. No wonder the beast's cry sounded so angry. "You bastard! This is clearly Chi Kuokyo's provocation." Wang Tiandi squatted at Yilin's feet and silently raised his paw to express his agreement. Yilin's expression changed slightly. But he soon shook his head. "Don't worry about these details, let's take a look at this village first. These people seem to have something to say." At this time, because the situation just now was too intense, Li Erpang's anus was warm and cold at the same time. After the Wolf King left, they chatted for a while and had no time to pay attention to their surroundings. After Yilin reminded them, Li Erpang finally remembered that the reason why they were able to escape from the wolf's claws was really thanks to this unique little village. Of course, Ningyu and Xiao Chuer had already noticed it. However, considering the existence of the protagonist, I didn't say much more. And they all vaguely noticed that the expressions of those around them were a little strange. In front of the village entrance, after the Wolf King left, Yilin and others were surrounded by people. A rough count showed there were dozens of people. Among these dozens of people, there were old people, children, women, and very few in their prime. The faces of the villagers are all different, and they don't seem to have any obvious genetic characteristics. The only thing they have in common is that under the firelight, they all look a little sallow and thin, especially the old people in the village, who are so thin that they are only skin and bones. They look shaky and ready to collapse in the wind. Most of the villagers, old, weak and women, carried burning torches to light up the darkness. The few young and middle-aged villagers who looked relatively strong all held sharp iron spears in their hands as weapons. The spear looked obviously much more powerful than the rusty kitchen knife on Li Erpang's waist. Li Erpang glanced around. His eyes stayed on their weapons for a long time. He suddenly understood. If this was a game, then this would be the gathering point for NPCs. Simply put, it's the place where tasks, equipment, and experience are sent. He realized it. Ningyu and Xiao Chuer frowned deeper. Because the atmosphere is getting weirder and weirder. The Wolf King has been walking for 5 full minutes. But the villagers surrounding them were all sallow and thin, and their eyes were full of longing as they looked at them. That longing look in their eyes was unmistakable. It was like the eyes of a monster hungry for flesh and blood. Look more closely. The hungry eyes of the villagers fell more on Yilin and the dog, which was very strange. Main character. Main plot. An idea came to Ningyu and Xiao Chuer's minds one after another. However, Wang Tiandi quietly hid behind Yilin without leaving any trace. It seemed to be very familiar with this look. It is so familiar that it is imprinted deep in the soul, reaching the point of instinct. Some humans look at dogs and think about dog meat stew, that's what they look like. Wait a moment. The words dog meat stew just flashed through Wang Tiandi's mind, and the dog hair all over his body quivered. When had I ever seen a dog meat stew? I can't remember it. When Emperor Wang Tian was behind Yilin. Yilin looked over the heads of the villagers several times. Repeatedly confirmed that it is not a red name. Since it's not a red name, it shouldn't be weird. He is also very careful. After all, the atmosphere in front of him always made him feel as if he had entered a cannibal village. Yilin saw that none of his human teammates or dog teammates had the intention to speak actively. He originally wanted to keep a low profile, but in desperation, he could only speak to try to see if he could trigger something. Since this village can take on the shape of a small fortress, there must be something special about surviving in this moonlight jungle. In fact, he and Li Erpang had thought of this together. After all, they are both experienced players, so it is impossible not to think of them together. In a named leveling area, there is such a strange village with nothing more than tasks, equipment, experience, and the like. But Yilin just said 2 words. Suddenly, there was a little boy in tattered clothes, with a shy sallow face and an innocent smile, and he rushed towards Yilin's feet. Whether it was excitement or the special effects of the firelight, a healthy blush appeared on the little boy's yellow face. "Excuse me, are you the brave man who will save everyone in the prophecy?" "Ah, this?" The 4 people and 1 dog were stunned. Seeing that several people did not deny it, the boy's expression became even more excited. He stretched out his finger and pointed at Emperor Wang Tian behind Yilin, wiped the runny nose, and said with a smile, "Look, the pet beside the brave man, and the prophecy, it's exactly the same." Emperor Wang Tian became angry instantly. "Who is a thing or a pet? So, you are the brave, the dog, the little friend, right?" The little boy stared blankly, looking straight into Yilin's eyes. As if to say, "If you dare to say no, I will cry for you." Yilin was silent. The next second, thump! An old man knelt down tremblingly. Immediately afterwards, second, the third, the 4th place. Everyone, silently, knelt in front of Yilin in the same posture. In their thin clothes, the shape of the rugged spine bones on the villagers' backs could even be faintly distinguished. Yilin looked at the villagers lying low on the ground. Somehow, it was difficult to say some words. This is obviously just a game. These were obviously just NPCs, but the look in the little boy's eyes made Yilin forget for a moment that she was in a game world. Is it difficult to achieve a sense of immersion in today's games? It's a mission. Ningyu suddenly said something. This inexplicable and strange atmosphere was instantly destroyed without a trace. Yilin sighed, "Tell me, what's going on?" After 1 hour. Late at night. But a bonfire party was held in the village, which was very lively. Yilin skillfully lit a bonfire in the village, set up a pot, and added a lot of materials for killing monsters into the pot, as well as a lot of spices. Of course, I don't dare to add wolf meat for the time being. Although Yilin was not sure, it was really the smell of roasted wolf meat that attracted the Moonlight Wolf King. But what if it is? That's it? Yilin didn't think that the village's 2-meter-tall spiked fence could really completely keep the Moonlight Wolf King out of the village. In fact, Yilin was also confused. According to the wolf's size and physical fitness, it should be easy to cross the fence. But it finally retreated. Could it really be a plot in the game world? As soon as she started thinking about it, Yilin retransferred her thinking model into that of a senior elite player. "Well, I am an assassin player who is very emotional but has a kind personality." The villagers, who were sallow and skinny, had not tasted meat for an unknown amount of time. They all ate loudly and their mouths watered. Li Erpang was afraid that he would suffer a loss, so he opened his belly and ate as if he had starved to death in his previous life. The villagers took a big dog bowl from somewhere. Although it was simple, it was clean. They filled a bowl of hot broth specifically for Wang Tiandi. The kind that wanted meat but not soup. Wang Tiandi ate it very happily, with an expression on his face. Gradually become more aggressive. Of course, while holding a grand bonfire party, the villagers did not dare to let down their guard. They arranged for a few strong villagers to hold bowls and eat broth while on guard, for fear that the monsters would smell the meat late at night and come to attack the village. It seems that the villagers are already familiar with the rules of survival in the Moonlight Jungle. After eating and drinking enough, one of the oldest villagers, An old village chief who claimed to have lived for 80 years, burped with satisfaction and then explained the mission. "Ah no, the whole story. Ah, Lord Brave, Lord Dog, this is a long, 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 long." Yilin's face was expressionless. "Please keep the story short." "Then please Master Hero and the dog follow me." Li Erpang was dumbfounded when he saw that it could really be so short. "Ah, this? Is there such an operation?" He has always been patient enough to listen to the NPC's lines. Ning Yu and Xiao Chuer drank soup and meat in silence without speaking. When the old village chief took Yilin through the mission plot, they also carried bowls, scooped a large spoonful of snake meat from the pot, and followed without saying a word. Behind the village, there is a shabby house. Although the house is dilapidated, but the roof of the house was layered with wooden boards of different shapes nailed on top of each other. The colors of those boards vary greatly. Some are covered with moss, some have long since decayed and are crawling with bugs, and some look like they were just cut down. At first glance, this dilapidated house looks like it has been repaired and maintained to this day by several generations. The old village chief, with the support of the little boy who spoke first, pushed the door open with trembling hands. "Whisper, rustle, rustle." In an instant, a large piece of dirt fell from the crack of the door, covering Yilin and Wang Tiandi's faces with gray. "Cough cough cough. Woof woof woof, ah chirp." The hair on the dog's face was covered with dirt. In dim light, Yilin pushed the dust away from her eyes with her hands, squinted and looked into the open door. With just one glance, Yilin couldn't help but stay where she was. Emperor Wang Tian didn't even bother to wipe the dust off his face, and was stunned for a moment. Ning Yu and Xiao Chuer quietly followed behind a man and a dog, and froze in the act of stuffing meat into their mouths. Everyone looked inside the house. After the old village chief opened the door, as if he was afraid that Yilin and the dog could not see clearly the scenery inside, he stood up on tiptoes, leaned on his cane, and moved the torch a little closer. In the flickering firelight, Yilin, Wang Tiandi, Ning Yu, and Xiao Chuer had different expressions. After a few seconds, Ning Yu and Xiao Chuer finally reacted. There was excitement in their eyes. The same thought came to my mind at the same time. This guy is indeed the protagonist. Inside the house, it turned out to be two ancient sculptures. The sculpture is covered in cracks and moss, clearly showing its age. Wang Tiandi stared at him with his eyes wide open. It subconsciously stretched out its two paws, pumped up its chest muscles, imitated the shape of the dog sculpture, and assumed a fit dog pose. Damn it! This is exactly the same as a dime. Who has a crush on Ben Wang? Wang Tiandi's hair was all messy. Yilin suddenly frowned. He didn't expect to see stone statues of him and his dog in the game world. Although the workmanship of the stone statue is rough and the facial features are blurred. But at first glance, Yilin felt that the stone statue seemed to be carved after his face. The facial features were roughly similar, but the temperament was very expressive. Yilin turned his head numbly and pointed at his face. "Ask, is it similar?" Ning Yu nodded seriously, like. Yilin looked at Xiao Chuer again and asked, "Does it look like it?" Xiao Chuer actually wanted to laugh, but she held it back. She thought seriously for a moment, and then said in a deep voice, "Let me tell you something, although your statue is not exactly the same, but if you stand next to it, it will be very similar." As he spoke, Xiao Chuer pointed at Emperor Wang Tiandi, who was lying on the ground and staring blankly. A man and a dog looked at each other. Isn't this an ordinary game world? How could this happen? Could it be? Yilin whispered a theory that even he himself didn't quite believe. This game was actually produced by my family's company. Am I the only son of the president of a certain group? Etc. Emperor Wang Tian didn't understand Yilin's words. The old village chief and the little boy were equally confused. But Xiao Chuer and Ning Yu looked at each other. But he saw the same thought in the other party's eyes. I see. It turns out that this is such a plot. They imagined the scene in an instant. A world with advanced technology has created a realistic game, which is equivalent to the second world of mankind. However, the prince of this game company encountered an accident while playing this game, lost his memory, and was trapped in this weird game. No wonder there is a stone statue in the game that looks exactly like the protagonist. No wonder the protagonist's actions are completely different from other NPCs. It turns out that the key point of all tasks lies in this protagonist. Do you still dare to say that you are not the protagonist? There is only one dog at the beginning, and all equipment depends on explosion. This is obviously the standard start for the protagonist in the game. It's all solid, okay. After figuring this out, Ningyu and Xiao Chuer stopped talking. In this mysterious village that exists in the Moonlight Jungle, since there is a statue that looks exactly like the protagonist Yilin and the dog, it is obvious that there must be a hidden mission here that can greatly advance the plot of the protagonist. After all, Ningyu and Xiao Chuer are not rookies. After crawling and struggling to survive in trial after trial, they have also gained some experience in the weirdness of the other world. This is clearly a special world. This world is obviously operating in plot mode. In the plot mode, as we all know, the deeper you dig into the plot, the higher the settlement evaluation will be when you clear the level. The higher the settlement evaluation will be, which means you can get more attribute values at the end of this trial. The more attribute values you get, the stronger you become. The stronger you are, the higher your rating will be in the next trial. This is obviously a virtuous cycle, the kind with endless descendants. After thinking about it, Ningyu and Xiao Chuer looked at the two ancient statues of a man and a dog at the same time, and made up their minds to find a way to follow the protagonist line and dig as deep into the plot as possible. The protagonist thinks he is playing a game and experiencing the plot of the game world, but he doesn't know that he is actually a part of the plot. He is one dimension higher than the NPCs in the game, but we are another dimension higher than him. It's a higher dimension, which is a bit sad to say, haha. Ning's right eye flashed brightly, as if he had seen through everything, and thought to himself. Xiao Chuer lowered her head, her delicate facial features slightly frozen, and she didn't know what she was thinking. Li Erpang was still eating hard at the gate of the village, unaware of what was happening here. Xiao Chuer and Ningyu didn't take Li Erpang seriously either. After all, they have now confirmed who is the real protagonist in this plot mode. As the protagonist, Li Erpang doesn't need to pay too much attention to his leg hair. The old village chief held the torch tremblingly. His eyes looking at Yilin were full of expectation, unabashed and overflowing. Seeing that one person and one dog were completely shocked by the statue in front of him, he slowly said, "Master Brave, Master Dog, now, do you understand?" "I understand shit." Yilin came out of her thoughts. He rolled his eyes angrily. "I asked you to keep your story short, but I didn't ask you to say nothing at all. This is an ancient prophecy." Finally, several people gathered around the fragrant bonfire. After the old village chief sat down, he slowly told the whole story. The story is too long. The old village chief doesn't seem to know what it means to make a long story short. It's either incredibly short, or it's as long as a foot wrap. But Yilin and others still roughly understood the plot. The history of this village is passed down by word of mouth, and it is impossible to study it. Probably. Once upon a time there was a moonlit jungle. There is a group of people in the Moonlight Jungle who built this fortress. There is a pack of wolves in the Moonlight Jungle. Wolves and humans are prey for each other, but they are also competing with each other. You kill me, I eat you, you stab me, and I stab me back. No one can do anything to the other. Many, 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 many years have passed like this. In the Moonlight Wolf clan, There has always been a terrifying Moonlight Wolf King. The old village chiefs changed from generation to generation. The people in the village also gave birth to one generation after another. Even among the old people who have passed away in the village, there is still a legend that a warrior in the village once killed the Moonlight Wolf King. But the Moonlight Wolf King is still there, vigorously entrenched in the moonlight jungle. It is said that every 10 years, one day, the moon will be particularly big, round, and white, resembling a big butt. The Moonlight Wolf King will become extremely strong under the stimulation of this full moon night, so strong that even the spiked fence in the village cannot withstand it. By then, this village will be in ruins. Perhaps full moon made this boss super evolve, right? Li Erpang said suddenly. This boss should have been refreshed many times. Ning Yu nodded in agreement. Should I complain about the simple and crude setting of this village's history? Xiao Chuer blinked. The other two people had finished vomiting in other slots, so she could only tell the truth. Yulin. The originally good style of painting was completely destroyed by these players. The old village chief didn't understand what he said to the brave man and his companions, and his eyes were full of doubts. Li Erpang saw the scene and nodded silently. The NPCs in the game don't understand the players' dirty talk. Isn't this a normal operation? Not surprising. No one is surprised. We are all elite senior players, and we can communicate with each other without any communication barriers. I've finished listening to the story. A cliché story without any surprises. This is probably the plot. It seems that every boss can never escape the fate of adding a little drama to each boss, and then happily being brushed off by the players. Yilin suddenly frowned and asked. Excuse me, old village chief, which day is the full moon night you mentioned? Yilin looked up at the sky. The moon is a bit flat and round, like a piece of cake that has been eaten in a circle. A look of nostalgia flashed in the old village chief's eyes. He murmured to himself, 10 years, a whole 10 years. If I'm not mistaken, the next full moon that can completely inspire the beast's animal nature should be in the cloud calendar 3333, the night of March 3 RD. 33333. Li Erpang was a little confused by the string of 3 and asked quickly, does this game company have obsessive-compulsive disorder in setting tasks? Even the dates are so neat? By the way, don't be so careful with just a side task. The atmosphere is just like the final boss in the decisive battle. Ning Yu. Xiao Chuer. Emperor Wang Tian. The other two people and one dog did not express any objection to Li Erpang's complaint. In fact, they also feel that many design flaws in this game are full of flaws, which makes them unhappy. What day was that? Yilin asked again. Oh, it's tomorrow. The old village chief said hoarsely, breathing faster. Ding. At this time. Suddenly. Above the old village chief's forehead, an exclamation point that was very familiar to everyone popped up. Accept the hidden side mission, defeat the Moonlight Wolf King. Task difficulty, S. Task time limit, 24 hours. Task reward, unknown. Everyone accepted the task. After all, it's just a game. Whether you can beat him or not, besides that, you still have to accept the mission. After Yilin finished reading the task, he suddenly remembered that the old village chief didn't know whether he was old and forgot to mention something, so he took the initiative to ask a question. By the way, you've been talking for a long time, but you didn't seem to mention the ancient prophecy? And what's going on with the stone statue behind the village? The old village chief recalled carefully. He thought about it for a long time before he remembered it, and said slowly, it is said that a long time ago, a long time ago, a long time ago, a certain ancestor of our village, during a fierce battle with the Moonlight Wolf King, suddenly saw a white light falling from the sky. He also left a prophecy that one day, a brave man will arrive with a dog and the brave partner. This forest will completely defeat the Moonlight Wolf King and bring us eternal peace. So, the ancestor listened to the god's prophecy and followed the god's instructions to build these two stone statues. For this day, our village has passed down this prophecy from generation to generation and carefully maintained the stone statue of the brave man and the dog. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. Finally, finally, finally. The old village chief was breathing rapidly and his face was red. He suddenly struggled to stand up and held Yilin's hand hard. Snap. Very hard. Finally. The old village chief smiled and closed his eyes. After a while, Yilin, who was still waiting for the old village chief's lines, suddenly felt his clenched hand loosen. Yilin was stunned. But the little boy suddenly burst into tears and ran wildly through the village. It's not good. It's not good. It's not good. The village chief, he's dead. He's dead. In an instant, this small village. Sad and gloomy. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 349. But this bleak atmosphere only lasted one night. The next day, Li Erpang tried his best to keep his eyes wide open and looked at the prosperous scene in front of him. He was so shocked that he didn't say a word for a long time. Blacksmith shops, weapon shops, grocery stores, have opened one after another. The respective store owners shouted happily to several legendary brave men and partners. Ah, this? Why do I feel like the village chief's death was in vain? Li Erpang said not. Ning Yu shrugged helplessly, this is the charm of the game world. Woof. Wang Tiandi barked, which was a wave of presence. This small village located deep in the moonlight jungle may be small, but it has all the necessary organs. There are all the shops you need. Yo. The goods sold are actually one level higher than those in Lebu town. Yilin played with the new weapon she had just replaced not long ago. Iron Dagger. Rarity D. Category Weapons. Part Main Hand, Deputy Hand. Attributes Attack Power add 4, Main Hand, Attack Power add 2, Off Hand. Effect Heart Rate add 1%. Durability 100/100. The attack power instantly increased by 4 times. Is it really worthy of being an RPG game? Changing weapons is more exaggerated than changing from shotgun to cannon. It completely implements a level-crushing system. Yilin looked at the dazzling array of weapons on the weapons shop shelves, and her heart moved, but she was too embarrassed to take action. And this in broad daylight is not good either. Really, this is not good. Somehow, after spending one night with these NPC villagers last night, even though these NPCs' actions and lines completely followed the rules of this game world, they looked completely new the next day. But last night's experience made Yilin feel like she was talking to real humans when she was talking to them. This game is so realistic. Li Erpang came to Yilin from the other side of the village after finishing shopping. At this moment, he also changed his equipment. I don't know where he got the money. Should I say that I really deserve to be a senior player? During the 3 days when Yilin was paddling in Lebu town, Li Erpang actually completed a bunch of small tasks in Lebu town with the fastest efficiency despite losing his memory. No matter in terms of level or money, Yilin was not beaten down. How much? What you need to know is that Yilin is a hem in Lebu town. In short, Li Erpang's actions and expressions seemed to be speaking. No one knows the game better than him. Now, Li Erpang is well aware of the importance of health and defense in this turn-based game world. Coupled with the direction of adding points from God, he is determined to be a pure tank. That kind of, I stand there and let the wind and monsters hit me, but the fat man remains unmoved and his health bar does not drop. He, as long as the monster can't kill me, Fatty can kill the monster even with a little grinding. Li Erpang said so. But Yilin hit the spot where Li Erpang's output was insufficient with one sentence. What if you encounter a boss with a high output and the ability to regenerate health on its own? If you don't wear him to death, the durability of your equipment will be lost first. By then, you won't be able to escape even if you want to. How could there be such an outrageous boss, Hundan? No matter how outrageous the game is, it still pays attention to the player's gaming experience, okay. This game company must not be complained to the point of bankruptcy. Li Erpang suddenly felt guilty when he heard Yilin's words, but after thinking about it, it shouldn't be possible for such an outrageous boss to appear, no, never. Yiren had a dagger hanging on her waist. He thought carefully for a while and then walked to the grocery store. The owner of the grocery store looked familiar. After all, Yilin had seen it at the bonfire party last night. However, except for gender and age, these NPCs were almost all sallow and thin, and their modeling was almost the same. It was difficult for Yilin to distinguish these villagers one by one. And it's not necessary. Welcome, Lord Brave. The grocery store merchant greeted Yilin happily, and then while there was no one around, he sneaked closer and whispered, Master Brave, I can secretly give you a discount. Yilin couldn't help but laugh when she saw the grocery store merchant's human expression. I was even more embarrassed to take action. When the simple grocer finished saying this, he felt a shudder on his back and subconsciously trembled. At that moment, he always felt like he had inadvertently avoided some kind of bad luck. Yilin shook her head and quickly scrolled through the grocer's sales list. After taking a look at all the items for sale, Yilin's eyes lit up. Intermediate Crystal Energy Vial. Labu Town is truly a novice village. The things sold inside are all of the lowest quality, bar none. The blood recovery and mana recovery props sold in Moonlight Jungle are a level higher in efficiency than the low-level series sold in Labu Town. A low-level crystal energy vial can restore 20 crystal energy points at a time. The intermediate crystal energy vial can restore 50 crystal energy points at a time. This is a turn-based game. No matter what props are used, one round of action is required. The recovery efficiency of one bottle is worth 2 bottles. If the player can take one more action, it is equivalent to using one more skill or slashing the monster one more time. No matter how you think about it, it is all earned with blood. Although the style of this game looks lighthearted and ridiculous, Yilin always remembers that this is a TikTok game that cannot die. Once the health value is 0, you will rise to the sky where you are, and there is no room for bargaining. In addition, because of the hidden mission of the Moonlight Wolf King and the ancient prophecies passed down from generation to generation, all the villagers regarded Yilin as a savior, which was a sufficient discount. The same goes for the weapons shop owner. Yilin was not polite and bought all the gold coins he had on intermediate crystal energy vials, leaving nothing behind. Looking at the bottles and jars in the props, Yilin silently calculated in her heart. After counting, Yilin looked back at the smiling grocer and couldn't help but ask. Actually, why don't you leave this Moonlight Jungle? The world is so big, you don't want to go out and see. Go out. The grocer looked stunned for a moment, then quickly shook his head. He smiled softly and said, This is our route. If our roots are here, where else can we go? Yilin. Li Erpang finished shopping and came from a distance. He just happened to hear the conversation between Yilin and the businessman, curled his lips, and lowered his voice casually and said, Hey, what's so confusing about this? It's just the setting of the game. Have you ever seen an NPC who can leave his post and wander around at will? This unscientific. Li Erpang looked like no one knows the game better than me, and educated Yilin in a tone of hatred. In a normal game setting, even the final boss, such as the Big Devil, is staying peacefully in the Demon King's castle, silently waiting for players to reach enough levels, kill them, and be kicked off. This is the fate of NPCs. Yeah. Yilin lowered his head, thoughtfully. Huh? Why are you laughing? Li Erpang, who was feeling out of place, suddenly saw the corner of Yilin's mouth tilted and couldn't help but ask. Yilin subconsciously touched the corners of his mouth with an indifferent expression. Did I laugh? You smiled. I'll tell you a secret. Yilin really smiled now. What? Your eyesight is really bad. Remember to keep your eyes wide when you look at things. I'm so wide-eyed, okay. It's early morning. After the preparations were completed, the group gathered again at the entrance of the village. Ningyu hesitated for a moment, but couldn't help but express his worries. Actually, we don't have to do this hidden task. In fact, what he wants to say more is, if you, the protagonist, die, how can the plot continue? Ningyu knows it very well. As the key person in each trial, that is, the protagonist, he does not really have invincible luck and will not die no matter what happens. There are also protagonists who try too hard to die and actually die. At the very least, Ningyu had encountered it before. Then the plot completely fell apart. That time Ningyu's evaluation was also a mess. Ningyu rarely predicts events this time, and with a little bit of luck, he found the key person in this trial in front of the other three apostles who have not yet appeared. He does not want this perfect start to be ruined by the protagonist himself. Seeking death. As the little friend of the protagonist, Ningyu, who has rich experience and superb acting skills, has quickly stepped into this role and made reasonable but not excessive suggestions to the brave protagonist. Yilin smiled. I didn't say that I must complete this hidden side mission. After all, you only live once. Besides, even the rewards are unknown. The risks and benefits of this mission cannot be measured, and there is not enough certainty. I won't take any chances. Li Erpang was stunned. Do not know why. He obviously lost his memory. He didn't seem to recognize this kid either. But Li Erpang always had the illusion that when this kid used this tone, this expression, and said these words, he shouldn't be able to believe even a single punctuation mark. Why do I have this illusion? Li Erpang lowered his head and fell into deep thought. Goza twisted his mouth and bared his teeth, also lost in thought. His expression was very similar to Li Erpang. Ningyu and Xiao Chuer did not notice the emotional changes of Li Erpang and Wang Tiandi. They just saw Li Erpang and a dog lowering their heads at the same time, and they didn't know what they were looking at. Since Yilin, as the protagonist, said so, Ningyu no longer stopped him. But not worried either. On the contrary, I felt relieved. This protagonist seems very sensible. He is not the type who is blindly passionate or cowardly and will only seek death. This time, the customs clearance trial is stable. At least it has an S-level rating, right? All they have to do is follow the plot. Don't drop the chain. Several people were ready to go and gathered at the entrance of the village. Knowing that the brave and friends were about to leave the village to fight against the Moonlight Wolf King, all the villagers gathered together and gathered around the entrance of the village. Even the shop owners abandoned their shops and ran out to join the farewell procession. The new village chief turned out to be the little boy who supported the old village chief last night and reported the funeral immediately after the old village chief's death. His name is Ob, and he is the grandson of the old village chief. After the old village chief died, he became the village chief. But the village chief does not have any special powers in this village. Instead, he has the mission to pass on the prophecy from generation to generation. But having said that, the mission they had passed down from generation to generation, the legendary brave man they had been looking forward to today, the position of village chief Orb, was actually in name only and did not have much meaning. All the villagers, including the new village chief Orb, looked at the backs of the brave man and his group as they walked away, their eyes filled with tears. They said goodbye with tears and shouted one after another. Master Brave, Master Dog, and friends of the brave, you must come back alive. We must survive. Definitely. You must not die. You must not die. I really, Really can't die? Li Erpang listened to the deep concern behind him with a dull expression. For some reason, he felt a cold swishing behind him. Why do I feel like something doesn't sound right about these words? Ningyu curled his lips helplessly. Aren't these villagers so ungrateful? These flags come out casually, one by one, and there are so many of them that they can fill a grave. Okay. Ningyu feels that the tone of this game is a bit weird. But there was no other way. This was the case in this trial. He could only ignore the flags that kept popping up behind him and concentrate on killing monsters. 4 people and 1 dog, after resting in the village for a night, re-entered the jungle. After arriving at the monster spawning area, no one dared to be careless. Li Er, who was fat and thick-skinned, carried the newly purchased iron shield in front of him, not daring to show his anger for fear of disturbing the boss in the jungle. Their plan is clear. Spawn monsters. At present, the level difference between them and the boss is too big. If you go and defeat the boss now, you will have a narrow escape from death. Before the mission time limit comes, brush as many monsters as possible to increase the level. At that time, see if there is a possibility of defeating the boss, and then make further plans. If it really doesn't work, then give up. Isn't it just a game? Li Erpang thought silently in his heart. Location Gaia, Moonlight Jungle. Time March 3rd, 33:33 in the cloud calendar, afternoon. Weather cloudless. Characters Brave Team. Attention please. DPS, keep up. The little monster on the left has red blood. Him. You guys are not good at DPS this time. Fatty, I've been beaten a lot. In the aperture. Li Erpang carried an iron shield and withstood waves of monster attacks. He awakened, oh no, God's gift point clicked on a new skill. It can add a layer of defense buff to the team, which is extremely awesome. Li Erpang felt as if he had become the leader of the entire team, his voice was much louder, and he looked awesome. Can brush the monster all morning. They gain little experience. There is no other reason. As their levels rise, their levels have far exceeded the leveling range of Moonlight Jungle. This kind of crushing monster spawning is not very efficient. Ning paddled happily on your right side, feeling a little confused. It's strange. The level setting of monsters in this Moonlight Jungle is extremely unreasonable. It was Xiao Chuer's turn. Xiao Chuer whipped the Moonlight Wolves on the opposite side. After the round was over, she had time to intervene and asked, why is it unreasonable? Ningyu chuckled and casually clicked on the normal attack. Baiyu hit the ground, and Ningyu flew out and poked a small monster out with a sword. After that, he turned back and explained, according to the general game settings, in a leveling area, the level of the monster it should increase linearly. But we have been farming here for a while. Although these mobs can match the monster levels of the review basin and fluctuate between LV9 LV14, monsters above LV14 are basically untouchable. Xiao Chuer obviously doesn't play games very much, so she didn't understand what Ningyu said. So what? You still don't understand? It's true that the Moonlight Wolf King is the boss of this leveling area, but its level is so high that we can't even read it. And what the old village chief said means that tonight on a full moon night, the Wolf King will further evolve. In the Moonlight Jungle, after our level exceeds the average level of this leveling area, the experience gained is greatly reduced. I roughly calculated it. Even if we keep swiping these mobs all the time, if we want to survive today before it's too late, it will be almost impossible to reach a level where you can reliably defeat the boss. If this was a mission with no time limit, that would make sense, but it is limited to 24 hours. With all due respect, this hidden side mission cannot be resurrected, repeatedly defeat the boss, and understand the boss mechanism. Otherwise, it would be absolutely impossible to complete this task. Li Erpang stood up against the monster. He originally wanted to complain about the couple spreading dog food while paddling in the water. But when I heard this, I felt it made sense. That makes sense. In that case, isn't it a waste of time for us to farm monsters here? Indeed. Ningyu glanced at Yulin, who had been silent, with a few questions flashing in his mind, but he did not hide his thoughts. Instead, he said softly with a bit of temptation, this level gap, if it is really in a game, it will undoubtedly bring a serious sense of fragmentation to the players, which will greatly affect the player's gaming experience. Unless. Ningyu put on an expression like I have something I don't know whether to say or not. Unless what? Li Erpang asked bluntly. Unless this game was never intended for people to play. Ningyu expressed his thoughts. Li Erpang thought for a moment and was suddenly surprised. Is this the legendary way of making pictures with your heart and playing games with your feet? Xiao Chuer chuckled, amused by Li Erpang's words. Under the turn-based level crushing mechanism, a few people can no longer gain much experience. But after all, there is still. Not long ago, a golden light fell on Li Erpang's head, and he finally reached LV14. After LV14, the experience earned by crushing the monsters in this jungle is nothing compared to the experience required for upgrading. With easy paddling, several people brushed off a few more waves of monsters. Li Erpang skillfully carried a hammer behind him. One-handed hammer. This is a weapon not sold in Novice Village. Since it was not a novice weapon, it gave Li Erpang the feeling that it was much more powerful. He resolutely chose this domineering weapon, and combined it with a shield, intending to defeat this game. Please call me, Li Fat Hammer. After using it, Li Erpang felt a lot more comfortable. On the way to find strange things. Li Erpang narrowed his eyes at Yulin, who was almost spotless, and finally couldn't help but voice the question that had been lingering in his heart for a long time. Rather than the sense of separation you mentioned, what I find more strange is that, have you noticed that the monster seems to only hit us and not him? Li Erpang pointed at Yulin. The words just fell. Ningyu, Xiao Chuer, and Wang Tiandi were stunned at the same time. With that being said, it seems to be true. Really, Yulin's expression was very surprised. He lowered his head and thought for a moment before replying, ouch. I really didn't notice it if you didn't tell me. But, I guess it has something to do with the face. Xiao Chuer looked at Li Erpang, then at Yulin, and couldn't help but nodded in agreement. I face your sister. Li Erpang was angry. This is not convincing at all, okay. And every time you activate a monster, it doesn't move in the first round. What's going on? That's the style of an assassin. After a round of rest, the damage in the next round will increase by a certain percentage. Make a decision before moving, and act first before attacking. If the enemy doesn't move, I won't move. If the enemy moves, I will move again. This is a true assassin. A real assassin must be as steady as an old dog. Monsters can pass by without even a leaf touching them. As a senior player, you don't even understand this basic assassin gameplay. Yulin chuckled, with contempt hidden in his tone. Although the story is a bit long. But the translation seems to be, you don't understand assassins at all. When Li Erpang heard this, his eyes widened. Ah, this? Listen, it seems to make sense. He was convinced. Ningyu and Xiao Chuer nodded secretly. You really deserve to be the protagonist. Right now. Wang Tiandi suddenly tilted his mouth with a strange expression, huffed and stuck out his tongue, ran wildly, and got into the woods. The exact identity of this dog is open to debate. But it stayed in the team obediently and worked hard to deal with monsters. Everyone, including Li Erpang, regarded Wang Tiandi as Yulin's pet. As soon as Emperor Wang Tian left, Li Erpang, Ningyu, and Xiao Chuer looked at Yulin at the same time, as if waiting for an explanation. Yilin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Wait a minute, what do you mean by looking at me like this? Why did your dog run away so quickly? Yilin shook his head. How do I know? Maybe I just went to the bathroom. This game is so realistic, do you think it's weird to take a break to go to the bathroom in the middle? This explanation. There seems to be nothing wrong with it. Although the three of them always felt that a dog was hiding to go to the toilet, something seemed a little weird. But this dog's IQ is far beyond that of ordinary dogs, and its output is not weak. Furthermore, this is a magical game world. No matter how strange things happen, they can be reasonably explained in the game. Anyway, the levels of the mobs around them have been completely crushed by them, so there is no pressure. One more dog is not a lot, and one less dog is not a lot. After Yilin explained, Li Erpang and the other three did not pay too much attention to it. Instead, they took the time. Continue to use your face to knock away the monsters around you, and gain experience points like crazy. While brushing monsters, Xiao Chuer said, I thought about it carefully and found that there is really no need for us to pursue this hidden side mission. No matter how high the reward is or how hidden it is still a branch after all. Li Erpang shook his head. What Miss Xiao said is a bit unprofessional. You don't understand the word hide and its appeal to elite players. Once it has anything to do with hide, it's usually super skills, god-level equipment. No matter how bad things are, there are massive experience rewards, which are definitely not comparable to ordinary side tasks. Xiao Chuer ignored Li Erpang. She looked at Ningyu. Ningyu smiled and said, he actually makes sense. Under normal circumstances, it is indeed true. But don't forget, we are trapped in this damn game now. Once we die, then but it's really dead. It's different from ordinary games. The most serious death penalty in ordinary games is just downgrading and losing equipment. Here, you will lose your life. Li Erpang fell silent for a moment. This makes sense. He couldn't argue. Who spares his life? No matter how awesome the equipment is, no matter how high the level is, you still have to live to enjoy it, right? Li Erpang has also not forgotten that the ultimate goal of his wanting to escape this game is to find the reason for being trapped and a way to leave this game world. Equipment, skills, and experience points are all nothing compared to reality. After all, everything here is virtual. Ningyu added, so what Master, what Brother Yilin said makes sense. We don't need to take risks. We should try our best to gain experience and see if we can reach a level close to the Moonlight Wolf King before the time limit. At that time, we will carefully weigh the pros and cons, weigh the risks and benefits, and then decide whether to complete this hidden mission. After all, there is no punishment for failing the mission. After finishing speaking eloquently, Ningyu asked subconsciously, you think so, right? Brother Yilin. No one answered. Brother Yilin. Still no one answered. Li Erpang. Xiao Chuer. Air. Auranos. A full 10 seconds later. Li Erpang suddenly woke up and cursed, F***ck. When did that kid disappear? Ding. Right now. Li Erpang, Ningyu, and Xiao Chuer received a notification at the same time. At the same time. Deep in the moonlight jungle. Wang Tiandi has left the team. You have left the team. Yilin knelt down and touched Wang Tiandi's dog's head with a smile. I'm very curious as to why you helped me. Woof. Wang Tiandi swung his tail vigorously. The tail flicks very fast. Even after images were thrown out. On the spiral tail, there are circles of small cyclones. I don't understand. Yilin opened the props. In the props column, there was a brand new iron dagger lying in the grid. Yilin took out the iron dagger and equipped it in the offhand position in the equipment slot. Indeed, this mission is a bit strange. According to the normal leveling speed, after the player level crushes the monster, With that small amount of experience, it will be difficult to reach LV20 before tonight to safely defeat this boss. In other words, this boss was not designed to be killed safely. I won't take risks without being sure enough. But what if I am sure? Yulin upgraded from LV10 to LV15 and gained 5 more God-given points. He ordered separately. Spirit add 0.1. Agility add 0.2. When equipped with a dagger, the heart rate will be add 2%. When equipped with a dagger, the heart rate will be add 2%. These 4 are attribute bonuses and increased knowledge rate. The LV15 God-given skill is. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 350. Two-knife style. Type passive. Consumption none. Effect after repeated training, your offhand can also equip weapons for combat. Before acquiring the two swordsman style skill, Yulin cannot equip 2 weapons at the same time. Either equip it in the main hand or equip it in the right hand. Yulin used to find it strange that in the weapon attribute description, the attack power of the offhand weapon was reduced. It was a mistake to equip the weapon on the offhand instead of the main hand. Oh no. Li Erpang is the main hand shield and offhand weapon. There's nothing wrong with him. After all, he is the main tank, not the main DPS. But after Yulin learned this skill, he was able to equip 2 daggers at the same time. Although the dagger of the offhand weapon has a 50% reduction in attack power, compared with equipping a single weapon, the output is instantly increased by 50%, which is extremely cost-effective. After Yulin equipped 2 daggers, the 2 daggers flew skillfully in his hands, shaking the blades. I should be right-handed, but my proficiency with my left hand is indeed a little worse. After Yulin was equipped, she felt her body. Although he has lost his memory, his muscle memory is still there. Yulin thought again of the unusable red short knife lying among the props. The weapon I am used to is supposed to be longer than a regular dagger. Yulin practiced for a while and quickly sheathed the 2 daggers. After LV10, branch options began to appear on the God's Gift panel. Some increase health, some increase dodge rate. This is quite RPG-like. But in order to realize the operation in his theory, Yulin could only use the God-given point to take the route to the output. No blood, no dodge, no defense. Carry out high attack and high explosion to the end. Abandon all defenses. If Li Erpang knew the direction of Yulin's addition, he would probably be stunned. A normal game might be played like this. Anyway, if you die in the game, you die. He was still a good man after his resurrection. But this is a turn-based game where once you die, you will rise to the sky and fall to the ground into a box. If you add this point, you are simply thinking that the grass on your grave is not tall enough and you are committing suicide. After determining your status, Yulin looked at Wang Tiandi, who was waiting silently. He always felt that Wang Tiandi's attitude towards him was a bit strange. Yulin still can't understand why a dog would be an adventurer and appear in front of him in this way. Is it a plot? Yulin thought again of the 2 ancient statues of a man and a dog in the Moonlight Jungle village. Currently suffering from amnesia, it is difficult for him to explain this strange development. He is obviously just a player. If this was a single-player game, it would make perfect sense. After all, in order to increase the sense of immersion of the player, many standalone games will always assign players some inexplicable identities in the past and present life, and use some plots such as destiny and mission to increase the player's sense of immersion and immerse themselves in the game. Players suddenly feel that they are very awesome. But there are other players in this weird game world. Why is he the only one who is special? Why was it just him and the dog, instead of Li Erpang and the dog? Or Xiao Chuer and the dog? Xiao Chuer, Ningyu and Li Erpang? It makes no sense at all. Apostle, hidden profession. Yilin thought of another strange word. He overheard this vocabulary from Ningyu and Xiao Chuer. From the first glance, he noticed the weirdness of these two people. The two people seemed close, but secretly and openly kept a safe distance from each other. We are all players, do we need to be so cautious? If there is hatred in the first place, why bother pretending to live in harmony? Who are you showing off to? They are not players. But if you're not a player, then who are you? Forget it, we don't have much time. This game world is very weird. But the most important thing right now is to see if the previous speculation can be implemented. If not, then we can only follow the turns of the game honestly. Let's make a routine to conquer this game. Yilin clenched the dagger with both hands, turned on following shadow, and moved quickly in the shadow. This stealth attitude is almost imprinted in the soul. Even if she loses her memory, Yilin can play it easily without any ambiguity. I should really be a high-end assassin player. Having said that. But one problem Yilin still doesn't understand is that he was obviously created as a friendly assassin, but on the LV1 initial attribute panel, the spirit attribute is actually much higher than the agility attribute. What's even weirder is that Yilin didn't feel any sense of violation at first glance. As if it should be so. As Yilin moved in the shadows, he felt that with the improvement of agility given by the God's Gift panel, his movement speed, and reactions had become much more sensitive. Although this improvement is only a small amount, you can notice it as long as you pay a little attention. It feels like the 60 frames on the screen has increased to 70 frames. The attribute values in these God-given panels seem to be more than just improvements on the panel. Some improvements in abilities cannot be quantified on the panel at all. This game is too realistic. Who can do it, to make this kind of game? According to my perception, the fact that the realism in this game can shock me so much means that some of the characteristics of this game should be very unconventional. While thinking about it, a small monster appeared not far from Yilin. When the player's level increases, the appearance of the mobs becomes more adorable without pressure. Killing makes the average player feel guilty. Following like a shadow. Poison-quenching dagger. Yilin had no expression on her face and activated her skills from a distance. At the moment when the skill is activated, the dagger in the main hand suddenly turns a dense purple-green color, reflecting a strange light in the sunlight. Go. The dagger was released and shot towards the monster. Even if Yilin didn't have to aim, after selecting the monster to release the skill, the dagger flew out instantly and stabbed the monster in the forehead. 23. Yilin's damage is now much higher. It is far from comparable to that in the Lebu Basin. After being hit by the poisoned dagger, a green number suddenly appeared on the monster's forehead. Immediately afterwards. -1. -2. -1. A green number pops up on the monster's forehead from time to time. It's like wearing a green hat. Very eye-catching. The little monster was angry. He turned his head abruptly, holding a cuckold's hat, searching for someone who was so ungrateful as to engage in sneak attacks. Where are people? The mob's movement of searching for enemies suddenly became stiff. Because there was no one in the direction where the dagger was stabbing. There was only a colorful shadow. It turns out it really works. In the shadows. Yilin successfully recovered the dagger with a kind smile on her face. The cute monster Q that couldn't see the enemy was inexplicably shivering. With the green numbers on its head, it was extremely frightened. We don't have much time. You have a good nose. You should be able to smell it, right? Woof. Emperor Wang Tian responded. Although Yilin didn't understand, he felt that this should be an affirmative answer. You remember what it smells like? Emperor Wang Tian's mouth twisted and he smiled coldly, the meaning of which was unclear. One person and one dog, walking quickly through the moonlight. The moonlight jungle is very large. Yulin and Guzu ran around for a full hour avoiding various monsters. The rugged trees around them became more and more dense, but Yulin still didn't feel like they had reached the end of the jungle. It was already afternoon. The time is unknown. Yulin roughly inferred the change of time based on the angle of sunlight passing through the shadow of the trees and the brightness of the light. What Yulin didn't expect was that the Wolf King, the boss of the moonlight jungle, would be so shameless that he hid in broad daylight. And he's still hiding like hell. According to Yulin's original plan, after he left the team, he found a sunny corner, set up a bonfire, and cooked a pot of fragrant wolf soup, which should be able to lure the beast out. But Yulin failed. Not to mention the Wolf King, Yulin didn't even see a single wolf hair. He even made a simple cattail fan out of leaves, hoping to blow out the scent to attract the Wolf King. Failed again. Learn howling like a wolf. Fail. Emperor Wang Tian howled like a wolf. Still failed. One person and one dog learned to howl like a wolf at the same time. A failure within a failure. He tried every method he could think of, but the Wolf King seemed determined and refused to bubble up even if he was beaten to death. There was no appearance of life or death. When Yulin was helpless, Wang Tiandi suddenly walked to the root of the tree. After smelling it for a while, his smile gradually became more and more unrestrained, and he signaled with vivid body language, "Follow me." Before this, Yulin would never have imagined that a dog could tilt its mouth, stretch out a paw, and make a slow hook movement. This dog is outrageous. But for some reason, Yulin was obviously such an outrageous dog. After a moment of surprise, Yulin quickly accepted the setting of such a devilish beast and followed Wang Tiandi to the depths of the moonlight forest. In order to save time, after Yulin became proficient in operation, she did not continue to spawn monsters, bypassed all the mobs, and went on her way without worries. His target is only the Wolf King. None of them. Suddenly, Wang Tiandi, who was panting heavily and with an impudent expression, suddenly stopped. Yulin then stopped. And slowly typed a question mark. Wang Tiandi turned his head and raised his hind legs. The whole dog stood up and folded its two front legs on its chest. His expression was as cold as a dog's, evil and ferocious. Yulin took a look, and for some reason, he actually understood Wang Tiandi's meaning. "Okay, you know that with my kind of operation, I can't form a team with you. The experience points belong to me, but the mission belongs to everyone. If there are other rewards, you choose first, okay?" Woof. When Wang Tiandi heard this, his dog eyes lit up, a green light flashed, and he made an okay gesture towards Yulin. How should I complain about a dog making such gestures? After one person and one dog were agreed upon, Wang Tiandi suddenly turned in another direction and led the way again. "What the hell, you actually took me the wrong way on purpose just to negotiate terms." Yulin was speechless at how he handled this dog. But there is no way, without Wang Tiandi's leadership, in this vast moonlight jungle, if the Moonlight Wolf King fails to appear after being beaten to death, Yulin, a mere human, will not be able to find it. Unless. Never mind. 10 minutes later. A small hill appeared ahead of the undulating jungle floor. The hills are densely covered with various vines and towering trees, and there are many snake-like monsters, which use their natural protective colors to hover in the branches and shadows, making them very hidden. Normally, Yulin might have been tricked. But in the game, Yulin's eyes are filled with red names. Yulin had no intention of brushing away this dense mass of monsters. Under the turn-based system, this will have to last until the end of the Year of the Monkey. Emperor Wang Tian lowered his head and twitched his nose. It suddenly turned its head towards Yulin and made a shhhhhhhhh gesture, then pointed in one of the directions. Yulin's eyes narrowed. Only then did he notice that there was a dark cave entrance in the direction pointed by Emperor Wang Tian. But in front of the entrance of the cave, a dense vine was planted from above. It blended in with the surrounding colors and was completely natural. If you didn't look carefully, it would be easy to miss it at a glance. Like a shadow, Yilin quietly pulled away the vines and walked slowly inside. The cave is dimly lit. When Yilin walked into the cave, a rhythmic snoring could be heard faintly inside. Along with the snoring, there were bursts of fishy odor that hit my nose. Not far away, a huge shadow lay there quietly, eyes closed, as if sleeping. It's the Moonlight Wolf King. Finally found you. Yilin quickly and covertly gestured towards Guzi. After all, it had been agreed beforehand, and Emperor Wang Tian understood it instantly, quickly retreated and left here. Next, Yilin turned her palms. The poison-quenched dagger suddenly flew out and hit the Wolf King right in the eye. Poison-quenching dagger. -20. -1. -2. -2. The beast finally opened its eyes. In that scarlet light, there seemed to be two substantial strands of anger burning blazingly. Following like a shadow. Shadow kill. After the poison-quenching dagger flew out. Before the angry eyes of the Moonlight Wolf King opened. Yilin has skillfully activated two instinctive skills, turning into a shadow that has no sense of existence at all, escaping into the shadows and disappearing in front of the Moonlight Wolf King. Moonlight Wolf King sleeps well here. The weather is so sunny today. Good scenery everywhere. It didn't offend anyone. But there was actually a damn human being who came into its lair on this day and came to kill it. Its anger can be imagined. On the top of Moonlight Wolf King's head, green numbers kept popping out. Entering a poisoned state. But what was different from the past was that the Moonlight Wolf King did not enter a combat state. Because, the moment it opened its eyes, it didn't realize who it was that stabbed a green patch of sky on his forehead. Goofy ouch dash. The Moonlight Wolf King looks up to the sky and roars. The roar was deafening, one after another. The sound waves formed a terrifying sound wave, which actually made the dark cave tremble. Pieces of dust were like falling snow, falling down as if they were free, adding a bit of tension and special effects to the boss fighting scene. This boss's style looks pretty good. Ouch. The Moonlight Wolf King is still suffering damage from the poison-quenching dagger. But the strange thing is that according to the god's rules, when being hurt, there should be God's light landing, and then entering a state of fair fighting, so that its claws can tear apart all humans who do not know whether to live or die. In an instant, Moonlight Wolf King's belly suddenly stood up. The streamlined wolf fur was shining with light and looked very soft, making people want to touch it. A thin black shadow moved quickly on the stone wall, floor, and ceiling of the cave, almost perfectly blending with the surrounding shadows, making it indistinguishable from each other. When the Moonlight Wolf King raised his head to search for insidious and hateful humans, Yilin transformed into the black shadow has silently arrived at Moonlight Wolf King's chrysanthemum queen. It's a bit difficult to start. Yilin hesitated for 0.5 seconds. 0.5 seconds later. He escaped from the shadows, thrust out the daggers with both hands at the same time, and stabbed the Moonlight Wolf King directly into the anus. Venom assassination. At the moment of taking action, a cold breath inexplicably surged out of Yilin's body, circulated in a circle, spread to both arms, wrists, and finally flowed to the daggers in both hands. The two daggers suddenly became pitch black, as if they were magnified several times, and a deep circular pit was instantly pressed into a certain part of the Moonlight Wolf King. Originally, the Moonlight Wolf King was roaring angrily. The sound came from far away. Ouch! Ouch! But the moment it was hurt, its cry suddenly changed to aw. It sounds weird anyway. 5-6. The skill effect of the poisonous assassination was superimposed with the epic bonus of the shadow-killing shadow-breaking strike, causing a huge amount of damage to appear above the Moonlight Wolf King's head instantly, which was very terrifying. Suffering severe injuries to key parts, The Moonlight Wolf King instantly clamped his legs, and the expression on the wolf's head was twisted together, looking very painful. Yulin moved without any hesitation. After taking action, he skillfully took out 4 bottles of intermediate crystal energy vials from the props. Without opening the caps, he directly put them in his mouth and poured them into his mouth. At the same time, Yulin flicked his right wrist, and a dagger with purple-green light flew out again. Poison-quenching dagger. Shadow kill. Following like a shadow. The Moonlight Wolf King finally came to his senses and discovered that the hateful human had unexpectedly run up behind it again and stabbed it in the anus. I want to shark you. The Moonlight Wolf King turned around again. But when it turned around, it was horrified to find that the spicy human had disappeared once again. God's light doesn't work anymore. It's not fair. God, does he no longer love this world? Why? Yulin once again escaped into the shadows. Turned into an emotionless shadow. As long as the monster can't find me, it can't enter a fighting state. The determination of combat status is indeed based on the monster's discovery of the target as the criterion. But, can the superposition of shadow-breaking blow and poisonous assassination only cause this kind of damage? Sure enough, the level gap is too big. Without triggering the knowing effect, the damage is still too low. In this kind of game, it's very, very difficult to kill monsters beyond the level. Although I can continue to take drugs and use the shadow kill skill to keep the Wolf King in the poisoned state in the non-combat mode, so that the blood will not be restored to full, and at the same time, the Moonlight Wolf King will continue to be consumed. Life, but this efficiency is really low. And, it's very possible that medication replenishment won't be able to keep up with this intense depletion. It's a bit troublesome. I didn't expect that the output of the leapfrog kill would be cut to this extent. Yulin turned into a shadow again and moved quickly in the cave. Under normal circumstances, perhaps with the eyesight of the Moonlight Wolf King, he would be able to detect the shadow of this coquettish movement and that something was wrong with his movements. But Yulin has already mastered the set of combos on other monsters. There is no delay between skill connection and release. Even the Moonlight Wolf King needs a certain amount of reaction time. It was impossible for it to pull Yulin out of the shadow state in such a short period of time. Unless, Yulin made a mistake. Mistake? It doesn't exist. I am a high-end player. Come again. After a few seconds, Yulin took action again. The Moonlight Wolf King, who was constantly suffering from green poisoning damage on his head, looked alert and changed his position quickly. It spins, jumps, and sticks out its butt. It seems that he wants to protect important parts with this. But this beast never imagined that the human being hiding in the darkness was more insidious, more ruthless, and more skilled than it imagined. No matter how it changes its position, the dagger hidden in the shadow can always aim at its anus with incomparable accuracy. The knife will see blood, the knife will be ruthless, the knife will, in short, this is a sad story. Yulin's level is too low. Moreover, his current crystal energy value is only enough for him to perform a set of combos. After each stack of shadow breaking blow and poisonous assassination causes damage, Yulin must complete the 3 consecutive rounds of drug taking, poisoning, and shadow transformation immediately to ensure that he will not be discovered by the Moonlight Wolf King and enter the combat status. At his current level, once he is dragged into the combat state by the aperture, let alone being able to kill the boss, he might not even be able to escape. Yulin's actions are like bouncing on a tightrope or tap dancing on a grave. If he misses, with his current weak health, he will be slapped to death by the claws of the furious Moonlight Wolf King in an instant, and it's still the kind without fake corpses. In the current situation, although it seems that Yulin is playing tricks on the Wolf King, the danger, tension, and excitement are only understood by Yulin herself, who is the Wolf King and Queen. And this kind of tension between life and death also made Yulin's adrenaline surge, and she was in a state of high concentration, and she didn't dare to be careless at all. Numbers appeared on the top of the Moonlight Wolf King's head, some were red, some were green, some were large, and some were small. These injuries, large and small, were vividly displayed on the surface of the Moonlight Wolf King's body. Every time Yulin aimed at the area, it was already scarred, bloody, and ravaged in such a miserable way that Yulin couldn't bear it. But he continued to poke. Now he is an assassin. A high-end assassin. A kindly assassin. He is a very emotional assassin. In fact, Yulin really wanted to try the other two costly skills among his talents. But after weighing the cost, Yulin decided to use Shadow Follower, Shadow Kill, Poison Tempering Dagger, and Venom Assassination as the main combo routines. Other skills either have skill advance, cannot equip weapons, or consume too much. It's not as good as the set of combos, which is more cost-effective. I don't know how much time passed. Yulin concentrated on aiming, sneaking, drawing, and stabbing, spending a lot of energy. He had already forgotten the passage of time. In his eyes, there was only the howling Moonlight Wolf King in the cave and the bloody chrysanthemum. Yulin always has the illusion that what he seems to be better at, doesn't seem to be this position. But there is no way, the Moonlight Wolf King is too big, and only this part looks like the weakest point, and it is the best to attack. In the shadows, the Moonlight Wolf King was hit hard one after another. Although the damage each time was not too high for it, it hurt. This level of anger has already exploded and will never come down again. Yulin kept taking action and taking drugs, while also focusing on calculating the Moonlight Wolf King's consumed health points. Since its release, including the poison damage, it has lost 1,123 health points. But it still didn't sound like it was dying. If this continues, Yulin was thinking. He casually took out 4 more bottles of medicine, threw them into his mouth, and skillfully restored the violently consumed crystal energy. This game is too realistic. As time passed, Yulin's leather armor was soaked with sweat, and her breathing became slightly faster. I always feel like I've forgotten something. Something important. Yulin took a deep breath. The air around me suddenly became a little colder. With this breath, the cold air inhaled stung Yulin's lungs, and there was a faint needle-like pain. Breathe. Breathe. The point is, breathing. Suddenly, Yulin's eyes flashed with confusion at first, and then quickly became as clear as a mirror, with an awe-inspiring and fierce light in the darkness. The rapid breathing suddenly changed into a completely different rhythm. Right. Breathe, my breathing isn't right. Breathe. Call. This moment, Yulin seemed to have entered an indescribable state. He obviously lost his memory. But when he inadvertently focused on the word breathing again, his breathing automatically changed to a rhythm that was both familiar and unfamiliar. Alternate quickly with long exhales and short inhales. When he opened his eyes again, the world in front of Yulin was completely different. Come again. Yulin suddenly smiled. Smile and be kind. Shadow Kill. Venom Assassination. 122. A horrifying damage figure suddenly popped up above the Moonlight Wolf King's head. Oh 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 oh. The Moonlight Wolf King screamed even more miserably. This pair of knives stabbed down. A certain part was more cracked. Bright blood flowers popped out. The next second, the Moonlight Wolf King screamed. It turns out. Turn the wolf's head around, clamp its tail, and run out of the cave without hesitation. The scarlet eyes of the Moonlight Wolf King contain 3 parts pain, 1 part hesitation, 3 parts desire to survive, and 1 part indescribable shame. They were very complex, difficult to understand, and obscure. It is so scared. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 351. Night. The moon is full. It looks like a white flower's anus. The only difference from yesterday is this butt is bigger and whiter. A huge figure was running in a panic in the moonlight jungle, with its tail clamped and a panicked expression. Those scarlet eyes no longer had the domineering and ferocious look of the past, but were replaced by full of fear. It's the Moonlight Wolf King. The Moonlight Wolf King ran out of the cave in a panic, knocking down and crushing a lot of vegetation along the way, and alarmed countless monsters in the jungle. Although this beast looks very embarrassed now, it is still the king of this leveling area after all. The king went out on patrol, and other monsters fled in panic. No monster noticed that behind the Moonlight Wolf King, there was a dim shadow, like a Tarsus, following closely. From time to time, the shadow would suddenly twist and strangely turn into a man with a stern expression and fierce eyes. He stabbed the Moonlight Wolf King's anus with 2 knives. When the knife fell with his hand, blood, flesh, and anus flew everywhere. The point is, breathe. Following like a shadow. Shadow kill. Poison quenching dagger. Venom assassination. Break the shadow. Take drugs. Yulin's combos were so proficient that even he found them scary. The Moonlight Wolf King didn't know why, but in this strange situation, it had already lost its will to fight and ran wildly in a certain direction, as if to escape from the murderous hands of a hot man. So terrible. According to the Moonlight Wolf King's consistent experience, every time a damn human comes in front of it, the gods will use the light of fairness to envelope it and the human. Under the supervision of the gods, it will have a fair duel with a team of human adventurers, in which no one can trick anyone. Its sharp claws have torn apart countless teams of adventurers who coveted it. The love of gods is selfless and great. But this man, even God can't control him. Unacceptable. That's outrageous. Moonlight Wolf King ran, with 2 sad tears squeezed out of the corners of his eyes. -132. A knowing blow. -332. Suddenly, the Moonlight Wolf King screamed, and after an outrageous number appeared on his forehead, Kibu was severely injured and sat down on the ground, pressing the scarred parts on the ground and staying motionless. This. Before the numbers completely bounced back, Yulin had skillfully thrown out the poison-quenching dagger to apply poison, knocked out the blue potion, and used the shadow to kill again and sneaked back into shadow, following behind the Wolf King. But the Wolf King sat down and pressed his anus completely to the ground. This sudden change of position made Yulin almost stop the car and hit the Moonlight Wolf King's belly. Yulin could no longer remember how long he had maintained this combo of attacks mechanically. This set of combos, when practiced on Moonlight Wolf King, seemed to have formed a conditioned reflex. There was no need to think at all, and the combos came rolling in. To maintain such high-intensity continuous movements without any mistakes is too much of a mental load. There was a sudden pause in this movement, which made Yulin suddenly feel uncomfortable as if there were stars in her eyes. In the shadow, Yulin felt dizzy and nauseated, and she almost vomited in her own shadow. Fortunately, I held back. A coherent rhythm suddenly stopped. Exploding, exploding, stabbing, stabbing, it was so consistent that Yulin almost couldn't stop the knife. Yulin lurked deeply in the shadows, her breathing becoming messy for a moment. But when he came back to his senses, he used that strange breathing method to readjust and quickly recover. He had no time to think about the breathing method that he suddenly realized as if he was blessed. Because the Wolf King is not dead yet. Yulin's eyes were cold, staring at the top of the Wolf King's head. -1. -2. -1. The top of the Wolf King's head was still glowing with green light. That means, the continuous damage from poisoning is still continuing. According to Yulin's experience gained while spawning monsters, monsters will enter a state of slow blood recovery after interrupting the negative state of poisoning. For ordinary monsters, it may be a slow recovery of blood, but for this Moonlight Wolf King with an outrageous blood volume, this may not be the case. If I'm not wrong, this mechanism for monsters to recover blood after leaving combat is likely to be based on a percentage. No matter what, we can't let this guy start to recover blood, otherwise all the previous efforts will be in vain. All the medicine will be in vain. Yulin made a quick decision. Since you covered your anus, then I'll just change the place. When Yulin was about to take action, he inadvertently raised his head and looked at the night sky. Yulin chased the Moonlight Wolf King all the way, walking through the moonlight forest, and struck out at the Wolf King's vital points with a heavy knife. Perhaps because Yulin was too focused, she didn't notice the changes in her surrounding environment. But when he paused for a moment now, he noticed that the light in the forest tonight was much brighter than last night. It's moonlight. In the night sky, no, that moon is bigger, rounder, and whiter. The bright moonlight poured down like a waterfall, falling on the Moonlight Wolf King's hair, making the originally blood-stained Moonlight Wolf King's dull hair now full of strange and gorgeous luster against the backdrop of the bright moonlight. Shining brightly, giving people a strange sense of beauty. This Wolf King is going to super-evolve. Yulin turned into a shadow, and after understanding everything, she no longer hesitated. The Wolf King was sitting on the ground at this moment, his expression was flustered, like a helpless child. But Yulin naturally would not have any sympathy for the monsters in the game world. After concentrating his eyes, the shadow moved quickly and arrived in the arms of the Moonlight Wolf King in the blink of an eye. Venom Assassination. Shadow Shattering Blow. Skilled combo, strike again. The two daggers in Yulin's hands shone restrainedly and silently, like the fangs of poisonous snakes, and they stabbed the Moonlight Wolf King's bulging belly at the same time. In fact, Yulin did not choose the attack site based on personal preference. Rather, it is the best choice based on various factors such as the monster's size, line of sight, terrain, etc. Moreover, Yulin also discovered another hidden mechanism of the game by using this cheating method to leapfrog the level and assassinate the Wolf King. When his dagger stabs the injured part, there seems to be a vital attack bonus, and the damage is a bit higher than the non-vital attack. Although this damage is not as outrageous as the damage bonus of Knowing Blow, when these little things add up, it adds up to a very considerable damage figure. I don't know if Yulin targeted the same spot every time, which left a shadow in the Moonlight Wolf King's heart. The Moonlight Wolf King sat on the ground, covering his anus tightly, but his wolf head kept looking behind him, completely ignoring the front. So Yulin chose to attack that bulging belly, which was actually the safest angle to attack. As a damage number popped up above the Moonlight Wolf King's head, the Moonlight Wolf King let out an unprecedented miserable scream, which made those who heard it sad and those who heard it shed tears. The scream was so pitiful that Yulin couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. The Wolf King screamed, giving Yulin the illusion that he seemed to be a bad person. Isn't it just a game? Does it need to be so realistic? Torturing human nature? Yulin was speechless. But while she was dazed, Yulin had already re-entered the state, and her consecutive moves were uninterrupted. With a flick of his wrist, the poison-quenching dagger fell on the Wolf King. At the same time, he took out a few bottles of blue medicine and stuffed it into his mouth. He activated the shadow killing skill again, sneaking into the shadows and disappearing completely. Yulin was about to take action again. What happened next was completely beyond Yulin's expectations. After the Moonlight Wolf King screamed, his expression changed, and he suddenly knelt down on the ground, completely covering his belly in his limbs. Although this position can protect the stomach, it exposes the scarred butt again. Yulin felt a little weird about the choice of Moonlight Wolf King. Is it possible that my method of spawning monsters is so outrageous that the monster's AI cannot keep up? Is that why you did such a stupid thing? Yulin thought to himself, but his movements were not ambiguous. Now that the scarred parts were exposed again, it was more to Yulin's liking. On the ground, the thin shadow trembled violently, and Yulin once again came to the anus of the Wolf King, and restarted the skillful combo of sword, poison, drug, and shadow transformation. Red and green numbers poured out crazily on the Wolf King's forehead. The Moonlight Wolf King seemed to have completely given up on resisting and pressed his body lower, allowing Queen Chrysanthemum to be beaten by the wind and rain, cruelly whipped, punched hard, and dripping with blood. The Wolf King still maintained this weird posture, never to be seen again. Any changes? Woo-oh. You. Ouch. Ouch, 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 ow. Woo. Although Yulin couldn't understand animal language, from the Wolf King's voice gradually getting weaker, Yulin could roughly tell that the boss's health had reached rock bottom. Yulin has been busy all night, and now it's time to harvest. Boss is about to become a huge experience. How much experience points will be added to the level 5 kill? It didn't take long to find out. Yulin thought silently in her heart. He is a very emotional assassin. Woof. Just when Yulin was about to work harder and completely wipe out the last health points of the Moonlight Wolf King. Suddenly. Ding. A crisp sound came from Yulin's ears. Congratulations. Hidden side mission, defeat the Moonlight Wolf King. Get money at 8888G. Get EXP at 35,000. This sudden change made Yulin stop the ruthless double daggers in her hands. Whoosh. Yulin was still under the effect of the shadow killing skill at this moment, turning into a shadow and hiding in the shadow of the tree. A bright golden light fell from the sky and landed on the thin shadow. But it's not over yet. Whoosh. 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 The huge experience value turned into a warm current that made Yulin's whole body feel comfortable and flowed into Yulin's body. Accompanied by the golden light that represented an increase in level, Yulin's existence was directly exposed, leaving nothing to hide. Again, the disappearance of the sense of existence does not mean complete disappearance. This gorgeous golden light hits the shadow as if it costs nothing. How blind can a geek be to not see this blinding God's light? Congratulations, your level has been improved. Level increased to LV15. Get God-given points. Congratulations, your level has been improved. Level increased to LV20. Get God-given points. The upgraded light fell 5 times in a row and finally stopped. The experience of this hidden side mission is so rich. It was enough for Yulin to upgrade to 5 levels in a row, reaching the level of L20 in an instant, making Yulin feel that she suddenly became a lot more awesome. The feeling of upgrading is so refreshing. But Yulin's mind at the moment has no time to rejoice, show off, or add extra points. Mission completed. Why? Yulin remained motionless in the shadow, thinking over the mission instructions again. Defeat, not kill. Yulin understood. He turned his attention back to the Moonlight Wolf King. The Moonlight Wolf King seemed to be able to see the bright golden light when the player upgraded. The Wolf King, who had been unable to spot Yulin, now looked in the direction where Yulin was hiding. Yulin subconsciously clenched the dagger. But soon, Yulin was relieved. After reaching LV20, there is no level crushing, and the scary skull mark on the Moonlight Wolf King's head is no longer there. In addition, the Wolf King was already in a dying posture at the moment. Even though the Moonlight Wolf King woke up after realizing it, he was extremely angry and dragged Yulin into a combat state. He was crushed without any level. Under the premise, Yulin didn't panic at all. Worst case, kill again. At the same level, the damage Yulin would inflict on the Wolf King would be overwhelming. Once I use all my strength, I will even be afraid of myself. Yulin suddenly felt that he seemed to have said the sentence at some point. But he forgot. After quickly seeing the situation clearly, Yulin sighed inwardly, but his cool expression emerged from the shadows. Yilin took one step, and one step towards the Wolf King who was kneeling on the ground. This posture, so calm and unhurried, resembles the god of death reaping life under the moonlight. At the very least, to the Wolf King, he is the god of death. The bright moonlight cast Yilin's slowly walking shadow into the Wolf King's eyes. In the eyes of the Wolf King, he was a terrifying and insidious man, with the moonlight behind him, and his evil aura soaring to the sky, making the hair on his body tremble involuntarily. The weird thing is, the name above Moonlight Wolf King's head now changed from red to yellow. Yellow seems to be killable too. Yilin sighed softly. It's just a monster in the game, don't add drama to yourself. The emotional eyes of the Moonlight Wolf King made Yilin a little unbearable. But he still held the knife and stepped forward, ready to harvest the last wave of experience points. Woof. But just when Yilin was about to take action and was hesitating about how to take away this wave of experience points, Wang Tiandi, who had been playing soy sauce throughout the whole process, ran out from the side at this critical moment. I saw Emperor Wang Tian moving like the wind, swooping between Yilin and the Moonlight Wolf King. His expression was as cold as a dog. He stood up on his hind legs, spread his claws hard, and his two green dog eyes were very firm. Yilin was stunned. After a while, Yilin had a weird expression and talked to the dog. Don't you want to say, let go of that she-wolf? Emperor Wang Tian nodded lightly. He admitted it shamelessly. To be honest, Yilin was able to find the lair of this Moonlight Wolf King in the vast forest, and finally succeeded in kicking him, all thanks to his dog teammates. But you are a dog and she is a wolf. Woof. You are destined to be fruitless. Woof. Wang Tiandi changed his position as he spoke. His two claws carefully drew a large half-arc on his belly. The Moonlight Wolf King was pitifully protecting its belly with a sad expression. At this time, it had a strong desire to survive. When one person and one dog were arguing, it looked begging for mercy and whimpered incessantly. Woof woof woof. Don't worry, I will protect you. Oh. It's so kind of you. Woof woof. It's just a matter of lifting the claws, no need to worry about the teeth. You are so humble. One dog and one wolf actually used animal language to stage a bloody drama in front of Yilin, where the wolf and the dog were in love. Yilin was speechless, so what if you see it? Do I want to give you an award? Emperor Wang Tian silently took out the fighting claw and put it on. He pointed at the Moonlight Wolf King behind him, and his smile gradually became wilder. You mean, it's the trophy you want? Emperor Wang Tian nodded fiercely, seeing that Yilin finally understood what it meant. Emperor Wang Tian was very satisfied. But it didn't dare to let down its guard. Emperor Wang Tian witnessed how the Moonlight Wolf King was being ravaged throughout the whole process. Once Yilin did anything unethical, Emperor Wang Tian would definitely use all means to drag Yilin into a fighting state. He would never let this insidious guy harm even one wolf hair of this female wolf. Team Dog. After Yilin was silent for a moment, she reluctantly put away her swords and pointed at Wang Tiandi's dog head, directly piercing Wang Tiandi's thoughts. You are just greedy for its body. Emperor Wang Tian shook his head. It means it is not. Seeing Yilin put away the knife, Goza sat down on the ground, wagging his tail and looking up at the sky. The Moonlight Wolf King's expression was full of gratitude. It looked up to the sky and howled, then lay down deeply, closed its eyes, and its breathing gradually became calmer and no longer rapid. The moonlight in the night sky is getting brighter and brighter. The Moonlight Wolf King's wolf fur gradually glowed with snow-white light, which was very dazzling at night. In fact, Yilin roughly guessed what was going on when the Moonlight Wolf King desperately protected his slightly bulging belly. The reason why this female wolf is hiding is because she is pregnant. On the first night, it didn't take the risk of rushing into the village for this reason. If the guess is correct, it would be so angry when Yulin and others were roasting wolf meat in the forest. It was also because it was worried that Yulin and others were greedy for its body, so it suddenly killed them. It turns out that this is such a setting. The story of a pregnant female wolf protecting its cubs. Emperor Wang Tian shook his head and chattered, as if he was determined to protect the Wolf King. Although Yulin felt that this wave of experience points was a pity, after completing the task, Yulin's level soared to the same level as the Wolf King. Without the temptation of experience to kill monsters at a higher level, Yulin felt a lot of regret disappear. After all, there is no need to fight with your dog teammates over a mere level 20 boss. Thinking of this, Yulin felt relieved. By the way, I deeply despise Wang Tiandi. Yulin upgraded to 5 levels in a row and gained 5 God-given points. While the female wolf was giving birth to a baby, Yulin had nothing to do, so she opened the God's Gift panel and looked at the direction of adding points that would light up later. The dagger root is good at assassination, poisoning, high understanding, and main attack. But this root still has many branches similar to increasing defense and increasing HP. Yulin ignored it. After tonight's experience, Yulin also confirmed one thing. This way of turning a turn-based game into a real-time combat mode using talent and skills is indeed feasible. The assassin has a lot of map skills, and he seems to be a fancy kaiju character in the team. But in Yulin's hands, these skills turned into tricks. Yulin didn't know why, but as his understanding rate gradually increased, he only triggered one knowing attack throughout the night, which was very desolate. This gave Yulin the illusion that all probabilities are just clouds. Even if the heart rate is 99%, as long as there is no trigger, it is no different from 0%. But if you increase your heart rate to 100%, it's completely different. Yulin thought silently. Quickly select the ideal God's Gift bonus on the God's Gift panel. When equipped with a dagger, the heart rate will be add 2%. When equipped with a dagger, the heart rate will be add 2%. Knowing damage add 10%. Knowing damage add 10%. Spirit add 0.3. After adding points, Yulin opened the properties panel again. Character Yulin. Sex, male. Age 18. Level 20. Experience 1103/7399, 14.9%. Occupation Assassin. Health 506/506. Crystal Energy Value 405/405. Strength 4.2. Agility 5.0, add 0.4. Spirit 8.5, add 0.5. Will 8.0. Lucky 2.6. Charm 1.4. Talent skills Haunted by Disaster, Follow Like a Shadow, Shadow Kill, Grasp of Annihilation, Summon Mount Night Dire. God-given skills Poison Quenching Dagger, Poisonous Assassination, 2-Knife Style. On the God-given panel, the heart rate has reached 11%. The knowing damage bonus is increased by up to 30%. It's a pity that there are no new skills at LV20. However, the key gift point at LV20 actually points to the gift of Spirit at 0.3, which is not a loss. However, I am an assassin, and my mental attributes are almost agile. Twice the attributes, this is outrageous. Yulin's words were outrageous. But when he saw this God-given attribute, he clicked on it before he had time to think about it. Yulin always feels that this spiritual attribute is very important to him. While Yulin was studying the changes in attributes and divine gifts, the Moonlight Wolf King's expression began to show pain. Emperor Wang Tian's eyes widened and he was very fascinated. At this moment, under the blessing of the full moon, the Moonlight Wolf King's hair is all white, and he looks like he is wearing a layer of pure white gauze, which is very beautiful. The female wolf's relatively sparsely haired abdomen began to twist and squirm. Yulin was also paying attention to the movements of the female wolf. Of course, he is not Emperor Wang Tian, and there is nothing unusual about him. What he was curious about was how monsters gave birth to babies in the game world. If it is too realistic, the game may not pass the review and will be deleted in a matter of minutes. Whoosh! A white light suddenly appeared next to the female wolf. After the white light. In the white light, there is a miniature wolf with its eyes closed, looking cute and waiting for food. Whoosh! Another white light. Yulin's expression was slightly startled, and then she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The movement was so loud, I thought I was really going to simulate the process of giving birth, but I didn't expect it was just a spawning of monsters. A game, after all, is just a game. There was a hint of disappointment in Wang Tiandi's expression. Ah, boring. Finally. A total of 7 wolf cubs spawned from the mother wolf's side, a litter of 7 treasures, which was not too outrageous. After the Moonlight Wolf King gave birth, his scarlet eyes were full of exhaustion. It licked the newly born wolf cubs with its tongue. I don't know if it was Yulin's misunderstanding. At this moment, the Moonlight Wolf King's whole body was filled with maternal kindness. He looked completely different from the murderous posture he had held not long ago. Just when Yulin shook her head and was about to leave. Ding! Congratulations, your kindness has been recognized by Uranos and you have completed the hidden achievement, the Mercy of the Brave. Get the title, Friendly Assassin. Achievement. Title. This inexplicable game prompt popped up, making Yulin slightly startled. He searched for around in the game UI interface. Finally, in the submenu of System, I found the functions of Achievements and Title. Prior to this, both submenus were preceded by, is displayed in the submenu. What is the use? After Yulin was surprised, she casually equipped the Friendly Assassin, but it didn't seem to have any special changes, nor did it bring any improvement to Yulin's attributes. I guess it's just a surprise prepared for the players. It should just be used to show off. But this thing is of no help to me who is trapped in the game world. Yulin took a quick look and lost interest in the new features that she didn't find useful. The mission has been completed, and Yulin has no intention of wasting time here. With a high concentration of energy, she dealt with the Moonlight Wolf King all night in a cheating way. Yulin was very tired at the moment and wanted to find a place immediately, fall asleep, and talk about anything tomorrow. Just when Yulin turned around to leave, what he didn't expect was that the female wolf after giving birth walked towards Yulin with a low eyebrow and a flattering attitude. Yulin naturally couldn't understand it. He's not a dog. Emperor Wang Tiandi also knew that Yulin did not understand the language of the she-wolf, so he walked up to Yulin and started translating. After Wang Tiandi expressed it with rich body language, Yulin finally understood what the she-wolf meant. You mean, come with you? The female wolf nodded firmly and breathed a long sigh of relief. It was afraid that the wrong expression would cause this insidious and terrifying human being to draw the knife again and stab its delicate anus. About half an hour later, the mother wolf held 7 wolf cubs in her mouth, and took Yulin and Wang Tiandi back to her den. It was the secret cave where Yulin started his attack. After the Moonlight Wolf King settled the 7 wolf cubs, he went deep into the cave, chose a location, and then quickly dug the soil. The female wolf was very weak after giving birth. Wang Tiandi seemed a little intolerant and stepped forward to help. It has to be said that Emperor Wang Tian dug up the soil very skillfully. In the blink of an eye, a mound half a person's height had been piled up at Emperor Wang Tian's feet. A few minutes later, the Wolf King came to Yulin holding a piece of crystal clear crystal. The face of the female wolf was filled with a licking smile. Congratulations. Obtain the blank Excalibur crystal. Yulin suddenly felt. There is a saying in my heart, damn it, I don't know if I should say it or not.